Good morning. I hope your Thursday morning is going a lot better than it is for one of our crew here this morning, along with James Boyd, Kevin Bowen. I'm Jeff Rickard, and Mark Dykton. You spent the night with your family where last night?
Okay. Well, if you follow me on Twitter, you saw that I reached out for a plumber assistance because literally as the first pitch of Cubs Brewers got underway yesterday, I was trying to get some laundry done. We're heading out on fall break next week, so I'm trying to be a good husband, get ahead of the laundry situation, and have some nice warm towels and everything for everybody. I hear this whoosh sound of water. I'm like, what the hell is that? So I walk in the laundry room, and there's water just gushing out of the back of our washer. Oof. Well, that doesn't sound good. Meanwhile, my daughter's in the bathroom, and she lets out like a blood-curdling scream, and I'm like, what the hell is going on over there? And she said, there's stuff coming out of the bathtub. So I go in there, and there's literally like black sludge coming out of our drain. Well, this doesn't look great. So on top of all that, Ashley was getting her tires replaced, so we were down to one car, and so then we were trying to like panically trying to get a plumber out there, and at 9:30 a plumber came. That's right, 9:30 at night. Came and looked, said, yeah, you have a blockage and whatnot. You probably won't be able to shower and everything like that. So we got Ashley from work. We picked up a Costco pizza, and then we went over to the Hampton Inn and went there, checked in, tried to get a decent night's sleep, which doesn't go well because kids are already like, we're out of our element, and now we don't want to go to bed because now we want to explore the hotel at 10:30 at night. And, so tried to get some sleep. Got in the shower this morning, and lo and behold, at the hotel, the shower doesn't drain. So the plumbing issues have followed me to the hotel room.
Hey, no, that's an unreal L. Oh, my gosh.
And so I'm just cursing every word I can. I go down to the front desk, and the lady's like, yeah, maintenance won't be here till later. I can give you a plunger. I'm like, I'm not plunging a shower at 5:30 in the morning in a hotel room that I paid for. So that's how that situation is. So I can only imagine what Ashley's going to see when she gets out and tries to get three girls out to school in the morning in a hotel room that doesn't have a shower that's draining. So that's going to be fun. And, that was my night. And
sacrifices you make to keep the Cubs.
I'm telling you, balance in the universe right there.
I mean, that was the one saving grace.
Was it all worth it to watch the Cubs
Not
play
really,
tonight
to be quite honest.
9:08?
Not really, because that was actually a decent game that I was invested in. I'm like, I would rather be doing anything. I just wanted to watch some baseball. I couldn't do that. The one saving grace was as I was waiting for the complimentary breakfast this morning at 6:02 because it didn't come out right at 6. I was just sitting there waiting. I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to get breakfast today. Is the other guy that was waiting there was a guy in a Cardinals hat. And the look of disappointment when he walked around the corner and saw the one other guy in the lobby had a Fly the W Cubs shirt on.
Look at that.
Is that a brand new shirt, by the way? It looks new.
I got it the other day, and it was glorious. I was going to wear it win or lose.
I think I might need that in my closet.
But he looked very disappointed. I'm like, you and me both, sir, for very different reasons, because that was a hell of a day.
My goodness.
And, so now my day includes finding a plumber that can turn around and come to the house quickly, on top of having 2 parent-teacher conferences to go to today because, of course, fall break is next week.
Those optional? Can you skip those?
No, I wish. So 2 parent-teacher conferences, a plumber at some point. I got to mow the lawn. I've got sopping wet laundry that hopefully I can do at some point today. They might end up at a laundromat for. How was your day, guys? I can't imagine it was worse.
We're laughing with you, not at you, as homeowners over here. I don't know what James is laughing at all of us right now.
I'm going to open up I'm not going to lie. It was one of those days where I'm like, I kind of miss having an apartment because you can just call maintenance and they take care of it.
There you go.
But, yeah. So I don't know what's going on, but it's not fun. Not fun at all. And I was like, of all the timing issues that could have happened, that's one of the worst timings of all time. When you're on a tight window turnaround, and now you got plumbing issues. That stinks.
That's just the universe creating balance in your life. The Cubs are winning. There's got to be balance in life. Don't you think, Kevin? That's exactly what's going on?
Mark, I'm sorry, man.
I'm opening a GoFundMe if you'd like to contribute to my plumbing issues. I might be dialing that up soon.
Absolutely horrific there. So, boy, I know we were texting a little bit last night, man. Good luck.
Not fun at all. Yeah, not good.
And we're here working hard this morning. First one here, as always.
No, Caleb beat me in, but I was like, okay. I was walking in with my Frosted Flakes from the complimentary breakfast. Once he got the morning
cackle at the Cardinals fan, he was back to normal.
Yeah. I just unloaded on Caleb, and he's like, I didn't want to hear all this stuff on the
I thought
lay
all
on the couch
sounds
for that.
Was your reaction after the first inning yesterday.
I know. I was like, oh, here we go. And then It turned out all right, but those final 3 outs are a bit nerve-wracking, I'm not going to lie.
I would say the 8th inning was probably nerve-wracking.
Also, if I can have one more 30-second here, why the hell are the Cubs and Brewers having a first pitch at like 9:08 tonight Eastern time, and yet the Phillies and Dodgers, who are in L.A., are at 5 o'clock? Does that make any sense to anybody?
No, we started talking about this the other day, and everybody told me I was crazy for complaining about such things.
Well, I'm complaining now. I have a lot to complain about.
Well, the difference was the other day, it was still everybody was on the Eastern or Central time zone. This is, Mark points out, it's L.A., I mean, Pacific time zone.
Yes.
I mean, you would think that the team literally playing out there would have the first pitch at 9 o'clock.
Yeah,
so
no one's going to go to that game if you got to work out in L.A.
I'm literally their game is on at 3.
They'll go to anything
like
in the
2
middle
o'clock.
of the day.
The Phillies-Dodgers game is on at 3:08 local time.
Yeah.
You think anyone in L.A. is showing up to that?
No, they don't show up when it's not like
at
that.
first pitch at Wrigley Field tonight is 8:08 Central Time.
And I don't know
That's
if Kyle
insane.
Schwarber's first homer has landed yet.
No.
From last night.
No.
Shout out to him. He
there's
hell
the
of a
first
season.
homer.
First homer.
Yeah.
Phillies keep their season alive. Cubs keep their season alive. Yankees, they've won one World Series in the last
Yankees lose.
25 years. Is that right?
Yeah, that was boy. That both New York teams out before the CS series. I wouldn't have guessed that.
Well, there was some championship play last night in the WNBA, James, and Asia Wilson continues to demonstrate why she is the best player in the world.
She might be the greatest player of all time if they pull this off. Needing one more victory to win this series. Her resume is crazy. League record 4 MVPs before the age of 30. She's already won multiple championships, multiple gold medals. There's really nothing else left to add to her resume, but besides catch the other players you would put in that conversation. Lisa Leslie, Candace Parker, Cynthia Cooper, Cheryl Miller. But, yeah, I would honestly say if they win this championship, she could stand there and say, I'm the best player who ever played this game and be correct. So to hit that shot with, point whatever on the clock left was incredible. Double team, didn't matter. 2 hands in her face, didn't matter. And the crazy part of it, and what is a gut punch for Phoenix in the Mercury and DeWanna Bonner, former Fever, is that they stormed all the way back, I believe, from a 17-point deficit to start the fourth quarter. And you still lose because the best player in the world said, I just got one more, bullet than you do.
That's usually what those best players do. That's why they rise above. And you look back at their careers and go, who was just unbelievable. And you're right. She may be staking her claim to being the best women's basketball player of all time.
It's remarkable. Again, to see somebody do it in real time is probably, one of the joys you have because you just see it night in and night out. So shout out to, again, Jackie Young, Indiana's finest, had a big game last night as well. And like I said, one win away, so they can close it out on Friday, tomorrow in Phoenix.
All right, and then who knows what's going to happen in the offseason for the WNBA. It sure sounds like both sides are just digging heels in. We could have a long labor dispute for the WNBA.
We could, and I expect Caitlin Clark to probably be at some of these, upcoming meetings and have a seat at the table because she will drive a lot of this, I believe.
All right, so lots to talk about today. The Colts back at work yesterday. We're going to get into all of that throughout the next couple of hours. We're going to make you some money later on today at the end of the show, right, Mark Dykton?
I could use it because it's probably going to all go to the plumbing issues. So, Jason Hammer, I need some winners, man.
I need winners. Pick me a winner, Jimmy. It's kind of how that goes. So we got a lot to talk about today. The text line going to be open all day long as we get ready for the Colts and the Cardinals on Sunday. 239-1070 is the number to text up. Use your fingers, or you can just dial us up and get on the air the old-fashioned way. Up to you as we continue on a Thursday morning at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Into Thursday, NFL football later on tonight to kick off Week 6. That'll be the Giants and Eagles, and that happens later on this evening. As far as the Indianapolis Colts, they were back on the field at practice yesterday, getting ready for the Cardinals for a 1 o'clock kick on Sunday afternoon over at Lucas Oil Stadium. James Boyd, did we get any new reports, new news, as they like to say on the interwebs with the Kelsey brothers on the Colts injury situation?
Well, the positives is that Grover Stewart was out there. He was practicing just fine, had a full participation. Alec Pierce, the same for him. But as far as Kenny Moore II, there was a possibility that Shane kind of mentioned of him, returning to practice. That did not happen. He didn't practice, nor did Tyler Goodson or Tyquan Lewis due to an illness. Braden Smith was out due to rest, so that's a good sign that he wasn't dealing with an injury there, but those are your injury updates.
All right. Did we have any chance to see the brand-new kicker for the Indianapolis Colts during the open portion of practice for you guys or not?
No, he didn't. I don't think he kicked any field goals in front of us. But, yeah, Michael Badgley was kicking in Florida, said his brother was kind of shagging balls for him, and now he will, again, be back with Luke Rhodes and Rigoberto Sanchez. I did catch up with Sanchez a little bit in the locker room. He said, from a hold standpoint, nothing too different in terms of what Spencer Schrader preferred versus what Michael Badgley does. And that's a big deal. I know it's kind of football kicker nerdy stuff, but that is something that is different. So the other thing I think to note about the injury report from yesterday, again, Kyler Murray did not practice for the Arizona Cardinals. So it's Wednesday. It's early in the week, as I always say. If you kind of, look at the injury report, maybe the Wednesday injury report matters 20-30% for the rest of the week. But if it is Jacoby Brissett, you're talking about a man that has dink and dunked his way through the NFL, and we'll see if that will be the guy under center against his former team on Sunday.
All right, that'll be 1 o'clock start, and you'll hear it beginning at 9 a.m. with all the pregame festivities, including the ride to kickoff with JMV live from the Bullseye Events Center. One other AFC South note, yesterday, James, the Jacksonville Jaguars tied with the Colts atop the AFC South at 4-1, made a trade with the Browns, picked up cornerback Greg Newsome. So they went and got some help in the secondary yesterday.
Yeah, I have to read more about it, honestly. I did see the trade, but honestly, when it ain't my team or I'm not too involved with it, I was just thankful I didn't have to open my laptop when I saw the notification go across the screen. In the life of a reporter, I thought of all the other reporters who were probably just trying to chill, and then that happens. But, yeah, a unique trade and certainly something that could affect things in the division.
At least you didn't have to go to the courthouse yesterday, right?
I did, actually.
Oh, you did go to the
I went down there
yesterday.
again, so hopefully that's the last time I have to go down there. I guess the latest when it comes to Mark Sanchez is that the police are not releasing any video of the incident just because it's an ongoing investigation. That was to be expected, but you never know, I guess, TMZ. If you don't ask. Yeah, so I know there was like a hotel video of him stumbling around the corner after he had apparently got stabbed, but that I would think was probably just a leak from the hotel or whoever else that local business was from.
Also, his brother went to DePaul.
Is that the older brother we're talking about?
Yes. He's got a couple brothers, right?
Yeah. Nick Sanchez is the older brother who released a statement.
What the name is of the one that went to DePaul, but yeah, offensive line. I could be wrong there. Back right around 2000 or so.
So it looks like he's going to have a court hearing at some point where he'll put in an official plea. Probably in November. They'll say he has to appear in person for that one. And as soon as he's released from the hospital, I guess he could post bond. That's the latest I got yesterday. Anything
he's still in the hospital?
Nobody knows. They haven't released. They have not yet released that. So, and they also.
I don't know officially where he is right now as far as his recovery and all of that. I do know that he's already pleaded not guilty to all the charges. But again, you got to stand before a judge at some point. And that date is set right now for November 4th.
All right. We'll keep you up to date if anything else comes out about that. In the meantime, we did have championship basketball last night. The Las Vegas Aces go up 3-0 over the Phoenix Mercury. They did blow a 17-point second-half lead, but then with less than a second to go, Asia Wilson, who had 34 points and 14 rebounds, finished it off just before the buzzer, James Boyd.
Yeah, I was in my apartment standing in front of the TV when she made that shot and went nuts. So, great player. Like I said, through the first few minutes of this show, I believe she has a chance to be the greatest player of all time when it comes to women's basketball. And her resume already is pretty crazy. 2 championships, 4 MVPs, 3 Defensive Player of the Year awards. You name it, she has won it. And so to win 3 championships in the matter, I believe, 4 years will just be remarkable. And I think I saw a stat on ESPN from yesterday where it's like she would be the only other player in the NBA or WNBA history to win like 3 regular season MVPs and 3 championships in the span of 4 years. And the only other person on that list would be Bill Russell. So that lets you know how crazy your career has been so far.
It was a hell of a shot last night. I mean, Phoenix, I thought
you can't do anything better, right? Defensively?
I thought Phoenix maybe could have contested the inbounds a little bit more,
Fair.
not let Asia Wilson touch it, but they threw the double at her, and she still hit the shot. So it was a hell of a play by her on the road, big-time moment, and that series is all but over.
Yeah, I saw a tweet that said, sometimes you have Michael Jordan, and sometimes you have Charles Barkley, and Phoenix is learning that lesson again. Because Alyssa Thomas is great as well for them, but, yeah, there's levels to this.
Yeah, bridesmaid time.
They will play Game 4 on Friday night at 8 p.m. That one will be in Phoenix. Again, the Las Vegas Aces up 3-0. College football. IU playing at Oregon, of course, on Saturday afternoon, 3:30 kick, 2:30 the airtime on WIBC that day. We'll have a Pacers preseason game a little bit later on in the evening. But also Purdue plays at Minnesota, and Notre Dame, of course, playing at home against North Carolina State. So a lot of college football coming up on Saturday. Speaking of which, I don't know if you guys saw this, Bill Belichick is getting the dreaded vote of confidence at UNC at a time where multiple media reports are saying that there is great discord behind the scenes with multiple people at multiple levels at North Carolina. There are some people that even thought that if things go poorly against Cal this week, that could be it.
It could not have been happening to a better person. No, I know, bro. People around here don't care about what happens to Bill Belichick as far as his success.
Oh, I think they kind of do.
Yeah, no, I meant the success part. But yeah, it's weird. It's a weird situation. It's been weird from the start, and I don't know, man. It just seems like whenever you got to put out statements like this, it doesn't bode well for the future.
All right, Major League Baseball, the Cubs stay alive, Mark Dykton. 4-3 winners of the Milwaukee Brewers last night. Still, the Brewers lead 2-1 in the series, but Pete Crow Armstrong had a 2-run single to get things started early in the game. Michael Busch had a solo shot. Cubs scored 4 in the first, and that was all they needed. And that was just fingernails, white fingers and fingernails on chalkboards for Mark hanging on for dear life the rest of the game.
Yeah, the 8th inning was quite dramatic there for Cubs fans, but they got out of that bases-loaded jam, and now, yes, they advance, and Cubs fans, drink your coffee starting now. 9:08 first pitch tonight from Wrigley. Mark, if you need me in my Try Not to Suck shirt, just let me know. You have my number. I will happily wear it. It's ironed. It's ready to go. You just let me know, okay?
I might need an extra pair of hands for the plumbing situation. So if you want to bring it, come on over. I'll give you some gloves and a plunger, and I'll say, let's get to this thing.
Mark's deploying.
Huge plumbing background.
He's deploying on multiple fronts today, James Boyd. It's going to be a busy day for poor Mark Dykton.
I know.
So we got, both NL games, right? And the Tigers-Mariners, we have a Game 5 tomorrow. Is that correct?
We'll get to that because the Phillies kept their series with the Dodgers alive 8-2 because, Kevin, Kyle Schwarber went yard not once, but twice yesterday.
The first homer should have counted for 2.
It's still going.
He hit that. You can insert the Ellie De La Cruz audio here. He hit that thing so hard and long.
Phillies win that one by a score of 8-2. The Tigers beat the Mariners 9-3 last night.
What was that?
I'm just watching
all
it.
All I know is, Mark, when you clip them two, just make sure you keep me all the way out of that. That was terrible.
Quite the follow-up.
Tigers beat the Mariners 9-3. That series is all tied up at 2. The Blue Jays eliminated the New York Yankees 5-2, and Nathan Lukes had a 2-run single. Vlad Guerrero just kills everybody, and Miles Straw each had RBI singles, and they just kind of did what they needed to do. Yankees could never get offense going really in that series. Also, as you pointed out, Mark, Cubs hosting the Brewers at 9:08 tonight, Eastern time. The Dodgers will play 6:08 contest with the Phillies, so they're playing an afternoon game out there at Chavez Ravine. That's how that goes.
Somebody mentioned that maybe that's because the Eagles play the Cowboys tonight on Thursday Night Football. Did they tier it that way? I'm like, the MLB better not be bending the knee to the National Football League on your baseball postseason versus a Thursday night game.
I'm not following that. Why would that matter?
I don't know. That's what somebody's like, oh, that's probably why. I'm like, that makes no sense.
They don't want the Phillies playing the same time. It's not in the same city though, right?
Right. It's in Los Angeles. I don't get it at all. I'm like, that doesn't fly. That doesn't pass the smell test. And I smelled plenty the last 24 hours. That stinks to me.
You run from home to a hotel where you immediately have more plumbing issues. Such is the life today of Mark Dykton. But like I said, Kevin, as homeowners, we laugh with him, not at him, because we've all been there to some extent.
Pacers back to practice today. Their home preseason opener coming up Saturday. That will be the Oklahoma City Thunder. Who else? I feel like the Pacers they play them in summer league. They play them in the preseason. They always play. They'll play them on opening night.
They might as well
2
be in the
weeks.
division at this point, right?
2 weeks from tonight. So we'll see about TJ McConnell updates. Not to get deep into the roster, but that could impact potentially how you make roster cuts here coming up in a little over a week. So Pacers back to practice today.
All right, that's what's happening in the world of sports. Coming up in a moment, we'll start talking about some in-depth stuff between the Cardinals and Colts. How's this game start to break down? We'll do that. We'll take some of your comments at 239-1070 on the fan text line. Also, you can call us up at 239-1070 right here on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Do this daisy right here.
There is nothing that
Good morning and welcome into the Fan Morning Show. Everybody finally getting it together. Poor Mark spent all night last night with plumbing problems at home, plumbing problems at the hotel that he went to. Almost didn't get breakfast this morning at the hotel, but you got here and you're ready to go. Good to go, and we are good to go with you at 239-1070 all morning long. The Colts back at practice yesterday. One thing we didn't really talk about, the update there, guys. The Colts did pick up Kevin Bowen, a brand new weak side linebacker yesterday, correct?
Yeah, Jermaine Pratt's a name that I think we've probably chatted about at some point here in 2025. I think it's long been rumored as a possible Lou Anarumo reunion here. And boy, if Chris Ballard is doing, he's certainly listening to Lou Anarumo this year in terms of defensive personnel. So basically the Pratt history is this. He was Anarumo's first defensive draft pick in Cincinnati. Started for him, I think, north of 80 games in Cincinnati. Most recently, James, and this is where the story kind of takes a bit of a turn, he did start for the Raiders for the first 4 games of the season. And last week I was watching some of the Pete Carroll press conference stuff, and the Jermaine Pratt answers were a bit odd and a bit short and a bit vague when it came to his situation with the team after, again, he started the first 4 games for Vegas. Sure enough, he doesn't make the trip to Indianapolis, is released earlier this week, and now there he was in the Colts locker room yesterday rocking number 53, which it's been a while since I feel like I've seen a 53 and it not be one Shaq Leonard. So I would assume, James, given the fact that he's in game shape, he plays, and does he start on Sunday? Given how much
you might think so, because Joe Bocci
went
to injured reserve with undisclosed injury, so that was also pretty significant news out of the team facility yesterday. So with Joe Bocci going to injured reserve, being out for at least the next 4 games, you would think that Jermaine Pratt has a chance to start. From my understanding, they believe that he's been in shape and he's been on a roster more recently than some of the other signings they've had this year. One thing to keep in mind is that he's not really a weak side linebacker, at least throughout his career. He's kind of played the Mike, the middle linebacker role, which is Zaire Franklin's role. So at this point, do you just think, well, the guys we played just aren't good enough, so let's just put him out there anyway and hope that he can adapt a little bit because of his knowledge of Lou Anarumo's system?
The bar is very low for him to be an upgrade.
Oh, absolutely. So that's what I'm saying. I'm like, even him out of position might be better
peg
than
into a round hole.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty much what they've had.
Yeah.
I mean, they have rotated a ton of dudes. Remember, they cut Cameron Grown, the local guy, about a week or 2 ago. He had gotten a bit of a tryout there, if you will. Jalen Carlisle, their 5th-round pick from last draft. He is not going to be back this week. We'll see exactly when. I think his return could come this month, but he won't be back. So, again, the bar is very low. One thing with these Anarumo acquisitions so far, it ain't a good list. Xavier Howard retired. Well, it was bad and then retired. Mike Hilton, I guess he was fine. Then he goes on injured reserve. And Joe Bocci was bad, and now he's on injured reserve. So far, the Anarumo track record with his Cincinnati guys, or even his Miami guys, if you want to speak to Howard, not gone well.
Some of that has to do with they're picking up guys off the street, and that doesn't always go well anyway. But so far, just knowing who the guys are and being familiar in your system hasn't really paid a bunch of dividends, to your point. Just kind of getting
Correct.
through. So we'll keep an eye on how that works out at the linebacker position, but it was thin to start with, and now you're signing a guy off a practice squad who didn't even make a trip with the Raiders the other day, so we'll see how it all works out.
And he wouldn't go there yesterday. He really didn't want to explain what happened, so it's one of those things where at this point, the Colts, I'm sure, probably vetted that situation enough to know on their end what took place, and, at the same time, they're also a little bit desperate too, so we will see how it all shakes out come Sunday against the Cardinals.
Which linebacker play could be huge, because when you look at, I could see a Mooney Ward shadowing Marvin Harrison Jr. type of game on Sunday, but Trey McBride, I think our fantasy footballers out there certainly know that name. I don't know how household he is to the casual NFL fan, but he's one of the more productive tight ends in the league. Last week, you benefited from no Brock Bowers, no Michael Mayer. The Raiders were down both of their top tight ends, so no matter who plays quarterback, Kyler Murray or Jacoby Brissett, I would assume they will want to get the ball in the hands of Trey McBride and therefore test a bit of what the Colts have at linebacker.
I was listening to Charles Arbuckle on with Greg Rakestraw last night. He was sitting in for JMV, and I agree with him 100%. I want to get your guys' thoughts on this because you're talking about the tight end, and here's a guy that may figure into that. I think Nick Cross has been terrific so far this year. I like what he's been doing.
think he's been pretty good. I do think he still kind of struggles in space sometimes. But whenever he plays close to the box, meaning close to the line of scrimmage, close to the action, he's been better. And so since switching to strong safety, I would say he's been, pretty good this year. I don't know if he's like a star player, but from where he was a couple years ago, like hardly playing, being benched to where he is now, I think he's, proven that he's an NFL starter in this league and somebody you can rely on.
Yeah, I think good growth. And he's in a contract year, and I would say right now him getting a second contract would make a lot of sense. So, yeah, I would say he's shown nice growth. Again, one of the younger drafted players in his draft class when he came out of Maryland a year early. So the thought was, I think, always, a little bit of patience practiced here, and I do think he has played pretty well so far.
Yeah, and we wait to find out what's going to happen with Kyler Murray. He had the foot injury coming out of the game last week. Did not practice, as Kevin pointed out yesterday. I would imagine he's probably one of those guys that he and Coach Gannon are on this kind of the same page. Maybe he doesn't even need to really practice much until Friday because of his understanding and flow with the offense down there. He is the offense sometimes.
Yeah, I don't know. Quarterbacks should practice probably Thursday and Friday, have a game. When they don't practice those first 2 days of the week, that usually doesn't mean well for their health. So we'll see where he is today and, get an update for you all tomorrow.
All right, so that'll be a 1 o'clock kick on Sunday afternoon. The Cardinals, who have lost 3 games this year in a row, all on the very last play of the game. You want to talk about a game of inches, Kevin. I know they don't strike fear into the hearts of a ton of folks, but can you imagine if they win all 3 of those last second games? They're sitting there with one of the best records in the NFL.
And correct me if I'm wrong, haven't all 5 of them been one-score games, even their 2 wins?
Yeah.
I think were one-score games as well. So, yeah, I cannot. Are there Arizona Cardinal football fans out there? I guess let me start there because I feel for them. I've never met an Arizona Cardinals football fan in my life, but maybe there are some out there. Just excruciating. And for those that did not watch Cardinals-Titans, the end of that on Sunday, basically go back to Colts-Broncos from last year when Taylor dropped the ball on the goal line, then how it all unraveled after that. But picture more of like fourth quarter drama on top of it. That was like the cherry on top of just excruciating. I mean, all they needed was one more first down, one more stop, all of those things. Hell, the game-winning field goal was a chip shot, and it barely even went in by Joey Sly there. So, yeah, Jonathan Gannon is fuming. Clearly, we saw him with a little shove to his running back that coughed up the ball on the goal line there. So, him and Shane Steichen have plenty of history. Jonathan Gannon, for those unfamiliar, he was actually Frank Reich's cornerbacks coach from 2018, 19, 20. There was the one point in the NFL where the Colts obviously had their coach, I think it was actually Steichen, and if you looked around the league, you had 4 former Colts coaches as head coaches. Frank Reich in Carolina, Jonathan Gannon in Arizona, Matt Eberflus with the Bears. I probably shouldn't even bring that up with the last 24 hours that Marcus had here. So, Mark, I apologize up front. And, of course, Nick Sirianni with the Eagles. So, yeah, Jonathan Gannon, definitely I would say more like a little bit more publicly intense dude. Kind of wears his emotions on his sleeve a little bit more than probably more in the Sirianni camp than in the Reich camp, if you will, or even the Eberflus camp from that side of it. So, a lot of familiarity between these two coaching staffs. And Arizona's defense, okay, how are they 2-3? Why have they been in these games? I would point to their defense. They've been a pretty good scoring unit. Maybe not a ton of household names. I know his height and weight might not lead to this because I've certainly seen NBA players that are bigger. But James Boyd, the biggest dude I've ever seen in the NFL is Calais Campbell. And he's still playing football. And how old is he?
He's got to be in his 35,
I think he's like
36.
38.
Is he 38 now?
Yeah.
38 years old, and he's still playing defense in the NFL. I don't know what he's listed at, but every time I'm down on the field doing
39,
TV,
I shorted him.
39 years old.
Yeah.
What's he listed at?
He is listed at 6'8", 315.
And I look at him and think to myself, he could eat DeForest Buckner. And DeForest Buckner is absolutely huge. So shout out Calais Campbell. That dude is a legend in the NFL.
One thing that'll be interesting this week, and we know that the injury situation with the secondary has been something that's been bothering the Colts, but the Cardinals have just been flat bad throwing the football. They are third from last in the NFL in yards per game throwing the ball, only 170 yards per game. And I was looking some of this up yesterday. How about the bottom 5 teams in passing? Which one of these teams does not belong, James Boyd? New York Jets, Cincinnati Bengals, Arizona Cardinals, Philadelphia Eagles, and last, the Tennessee Titans. The Eagles, the Super Bowl champions with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, and they got a great tight end as well, Dallas Goedert. They're sitting there second to last in the NFL in passing. It's nuts. And they're still 4-1, by the way.
But the way they've gone about going 4-1, I think Philly fans, who are always so understanding, are pretty frustrated right now with that offense. And they're not alone. A.J. Brown, it feels like every single week we got to hear about some, mysterious Twitter message. Or I think this past week it was more so like the three of them, Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, and Saquon Barkley having a meeting together. So is it a players-only meeting if it's only 3 players? But, either way, good problem to have, I guess, in Philly if you're 4-1 and still frustrated with how you're playing.
Is weird happening tonight in the NFL?
Hang on. Mark,
I think so.
Did the plumbing in your chair just die too?
I didn't even move.
He didn't even move it. His chair just dropped like 4 inches. That's the kind of day he's having. I'm sorry about that, Kevin, but it caught me as Mark just disappeared there for a second.
Eagles-Giants Thursday Night Football tonight. The Eagles as a road touchdown favorite intra-division. That smells weird to me.
I think they're finna smack the Giants.
They got to get right at some point, you'd think, right?
Who? The Giants?
The Eagles.
Oh, well, yeah. I was about to say the Giants. No, they don't get many things right, it seems like. I just think that Jackson Dart going up against that front is going to have a rough day.
It's going to be here's the thing, though. I'll probably still watch the NFL game over the very late Cubs game tonight. Probably have 2 TVs going, but I would think even Thursday Night Football, just too late.
Mark, who's on the mound
just too late
tonight for the Cubs?
I don't know.
Trying to keep their season alive. They haven't announced.
Nope. TBD for everybody.
TBD for everybody. So we'll find out what we can find out as the day moves along. Maybe at the time we get off the air today, we'll have a little bit more on that. But, yeah, you got the Cardinals coming in on Sunday afternoon. And, again, Saturday I think is just as compelling, if not more so, to see what Indiana can do on the road against Oregon. I was listening to both coaches talk again yesterday. They're just effusive in their praise for one another. You got a number 3 team going up against a number 7 team. And I think we always talked about this for a minute yesterday, Kevin. We always think of Oregon offense, right? Just lighting things up and going on. Their defense is the star this year. And it'll be interesting to see if Mendoza and some of the speed guys that Indiana's busted out today, and they've been able to run and they've had long scoring plays, it'll be interesting to see how they do against the top 5 defense in college football.
Yeah, I continue to look a little bit at the weather, too. I know Pacific Northwest and rain shouldn't shock anybody, but it looks like there is some potential for rain in the forecast out there in Eugene. I can't wait. I mean, this is just going to be a outstanding environment, I would think. Both teams coming off a bye as well. You've got the Heisman appeal to it. And College game day, is that a 6 a.m. local start time?
Get them up out of bed early.
So we'll see how the student body there for the Ducks can handle that at 6 a.m.
Student body wake up, or do they just stay up, James, out there at Oregon?
Yeah, that's a good question. But, I remember when we had unofficial St. Patrick Day at the University of Illinois, and by 7 a.m. you could probably smell the liquor in the air. So I imagine that there will be a lot of
I think you can smell a lot of things in the air out there.
That's also true. I didn't think about that. Good point. It'll be a great time for all involved out there. Just stay safe.
Well, looking forward to what should be a fantastic test for Curt Cignetti now in his second year. And, they played so well last year, got to the college football playoff, obviously. And this is one of those games that, safe to say, you got Ohio State, obviously, at the top. But, man, this is whoever wins this football game, especially if Indiana can win on the road, what a huge feather in the cap if they could find a way to get that done at Autzen Stadium on Saturday.
Bar none, one of the biggest wins in program history. And then if you want to live in the 2025 season for a moment, you'd be in, I would assume, a pole position for potentially a home playoff game, maybe even a bye, which I know sounds crazy to say out loud. You don't play Ohio State this year. You'd be on track to, I guess, play them in the Big Ten championship. Can you imagine a Big Ten championship with Indiana? Last year we almost got it. Right here at Lucas Oil, what that environment would look like. Because, again, I know the conference championships and what do they mean and all of that, it's a little bit more up in the air. But if you kind of view it as, hey, you're playing for a bye, then it's a pseudo first playoff game. If you can eliminate one of the playoff games, Notre Dame and Ohio State last year, they both had to win 4 playoff games, or I should say 3 to get to the national title game, that obviously would be part of it. And obviously Indiana, I don't Kurt Cignetti doesn't strike me as a dude that's thinking about this at all. But if that game starts to get a little on the double-digit side, it's paramount for Indiana to keep that close. Indiana's still got a lot of old Peacock games. National eyes, James Boyd, is going to be squarely on this one. And the national media, and I would assume some people on that committee, they're ready to pounce on Indiana if they start to show some flaws. And if Oregon runs you out of the building, a bit similar to Ohio State last year, a bit similar to Notre Dame, then all of a sudden people are going to start to be saying, hey, it's a great story, but when they get to these moments, this is what happens.
Unfortunately, that would be the conversation.
And now Penn State might have 3 losses when you face him, or 4. So that game isn't maybe on the same pedestal as you previously thought. So I don't expect that at all. Let me be clear. I think Indiana can definitely make this game and can definitely win this game. But if it does start to get like that, unfortunately, style points matter. And so that will be something also to keep an eye on.
You think it was good that they got tested?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Against Iowa?
Yeah. I mean, you think about the Cignetti era. They haven't had any of that.
I know. That's why I was like, even though they weren't like a ranked team, but going on the road.
No, I think that's big.
It's always weird playing at Kinnick Stadium.
Right.
And I think that was.
Your boy sure as hell didn't do that?
No, not a chance. They didn't test them at all. They basically gave them a free pass to, a master's program or a PhD in football from that beat down.
Well,
I'm wearing the boys today, actually.
There you go. Well, I can't get over the fact, though, that to your point, as you extrapolate down the line, should they be able to get a win in this football game, you could be looking at seeing them in a Big Ten championship game here, and then a few weeks later, possibly looking at a home game in the college football playoff. It's crazy. Probably if they win a Big Ten championship, they probably get a bye. But.
Do we want Belichick fired, or do we just want more failure?
Oh, I think I'm enjoying the circus to this point in time.
Yeah, I would lean more towards that. I mean, other than that, I wouldn't pay attention to what's going on there at all. Also, it's funny to see all the posts that Mac Brown keeps posting and sharing.
He's trolling.
He's like,
big time.
my life is great, basically, and I'm living the
playing
dream.
Golf
and
yesterday.
Yeah, everyone loves me, and hey, I wasn't, and not so many words. He's basically saying, hey, I wasn't too bad at my job. So, yeah, they pushed him out to bring in who they thought was the GOAT, but college game is
wasn't
different.
The hiring process this weird, like board of trustees kind of pushing for this? So my question would be this: if it's really going off the rails, and you have recruiting violations, you have parents upset, you have staff members being like, we haven't heard from Belichick in multiple weeks, just kind of ghosting us during the bye week. Okay, if all of these things, and the product, obviously, they've gotten run off the field in their 3 losses, if all of this is true, will rich, arrogant people admit that they were wrong?
Well,
this is not an AD or a president, right. According to the reports. This is a lot of, again, board of trustees, which, unfortunately, we saw this probably play out in Bloomington on the hardwood. When you have people like that making the calls or having heavy influence on who is hired as your men's basketball coach, your football coach, they oftentimes will dictate when that person goes, or it has to get uber bad before you admit that you're wrong. That, I think, is at play here in Chapel Hill.
So what's interesting about that is, from what I understand, and I work with a lot of folks in North Carolina constantly, it's a big deal for our station out there, there was a pretty big power struggle behind the scenes to get him hired. To your point, some boosters wanted him, some absolutely didn't want him. Some of the Board of Governors did want him. There was 1 or 2 that didn't want him. And I don't think that power struggle has ever gone away. And starting off 2-3 and not having really any impressive wins, so to speak, has not helped that power struggle. Bill Belichick was complaining that there are leaks within his staff, and all these stories keep leaking out. And they wanted to find who the person that was leaking all this was. And then there was another report I saw in Raleigh yesterday that said there's multiple guys, there's multiple people leaking things out of that program. So much so that, to your point about some staff members haven't even talked to him for a while, they're already looking for other jobs, apparently.
You said no impressive wins. Yes, Charlotte and Richmond, I don't think would fall into the impressive category.
No. Neither one of them are, even for their level, great football.
No, their
teams.
Losses are blown-out losses to unranked teams.
They also have like one of the worst offenses in all of college football. Out of 134 teams, they're 117.
Gosh, I love it.
At 18.8 points per game.
And you know,
so, and you couldn't even inflate your numbers against some of these directional schools early in the year. Come on now.
The thing that was crazy, remember they had that nationally televised game, their first game against TCU? And the first thing they do is drive the ball like 75 yards, couple of runs, some quick hitter passes, like boom, 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 touchdown. You're like, well, there's Bill Belichick at the college level. That was it. Other than the wins against Richmond and Charlotte,
have they scored
that's
since?
been it, man. It's been tough sledding for Bill Belichick, and I am enjoying, I'm not going to lie, Schadenfreude, whatever you want to call it, Kevin, I'm enjoying the circus right now.
Yeah, it's a sick fandom in me coming out. I would never do that with the Cubs, for example, or anything along those lines, but in regards to this instance, it's making me very
You don't
happy.
have a Bill Belichick t-shirt fired up and ready to go?
Well, I can't say I do. I probably should, but I can't say I do.
'Cause that's you got an impressive collection of t-shirts.
Yeah, and again, just to go back, that was purely a support of a friend. And if Mark needs me rocking
Lord.
that tonight at 9 o'clock for Game 4, I will be a friend.
Mark is training. He's going to be gone next week, so we got our buddy Jacob in here today. And Mark,
Caleb.
I'm sorry. Did I say Jacob? I'm sorry. No, but I wanted to get to Mark. Like, he's over there on his phone in the corner watching his chair just disappear underneath him right now.
Now, Mark, the deciding Game 5 would be Saturday at 4. Am I seeing this right?
Yes.
Oh, my. It's right during football season. What are we doing?
Glad I would have I'd be driving to Florida at that point, but yeah, I'll be like, Ashley, you drive for a little bit. I'll use multi-view on my phone and try to watch the baseball games, the college football games.
Gosh, that's brutal.
I would rather have that, honestly. I'd rather have that, honestly, that conundrum than a 9:08 first pitch tonight.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Because this is
Well,
BS.
and I will say, from a driving standpoint, you get a nice, radio, baseball. You get a little
So I was
baseball on the
gonna say-
radio. That could be soothing until,
Well, I'm
you get
sure the
into a
girls will be like,
bases
can
loaded
you
jam."
play Taylor Swift? Can you play K-pop Demon Hunters? I'm going to say, no, we're listening to college football or baseball. You guys just don't take a nap for a little bit. We're driving through Georgia now.
I was going to say, I hope the girls have headphones and, little tablets or something.
Yep, they need something.
I want to give a shout out to Caleb, too, because he did. He was rocking it this morning. He walked in this morning. First one here, as Mark said, wearing his Detroit Tigers hat, which we've already had a discussion about.
I don't know if I'll be able to wear it after Friday night. We'll see. You got to feel good with Scooble going Friday. I will say that.
That's the guy
but
you want on the mound, that's for sure.
I love that. Deciding Game 5 on a Friday night. Sign me up.
All right. Coming up in a moment, we'll talk more about the AFC South, the Colts in particular, getting ready to take on the Arizona Cardinals, trying to improve to 5-1 on the season. We'll give you all the details next. It's 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. All right, we're starting to head into a full weekend of football with Thursday Night Football later on tonight. Giants-Eagles gets us started off, and then, of course, all the great high school football tomorrow night. A couple of big college football games for us to keep an eye on Saturday, and then Sunday the Colts take on the Arizona Cardinals. Text line is up and running today at 239-1070. Along with Kevin Bowen, James Boyd, I'm Jeff Rickard. Caleb doing his thing on the ones and twos today. Mark is over there on his phone trying to figure out plumbing situations right now. It's just how that works. But in the meantime, go to the text line. And, guys, this is a good question that comes from Block by Block, who says, it seems all around us, including the Jaguars, they're making moves already. Who is out there the Colts should be targeting in the next week or two before the trade deadline passes? I would think if you're looking at anybody, it would be defensively, right, at this point?
Yeah, but I would also caution anybody that thinks the Colts are going to go make a move to just remember that during the Chris Ballard era, we're in year 9 right now, I believe. Through the first 8 years, they've only made one in-season trade, and that was Nyheim Hines for Zach Moss way back when. And even then, that was because Nyheim Hines wanted out. So I wouldn't hold my breath waiting on that sort of trade to be done. And also, I'm curious, Kevin, I don't hate the idea, but how married are you to your future? Like, do you want to give away draft capital, presumably, in hopes of trying to do something special this year? Like, I don't hate that idea, but, are you one and done with Daniel Jones? Do you believe in this? Have you seen enough? Like, those are some of the questions I think that would certainly factor into any decision on that front.
Yeah, I mean, it is pretty crazy, as you point out, just one trade in 8 years in season. And that trade, I think, was more of Nyheim Hines wanting to get out.
Yeah, exactly.
Than, kind of a buy or sell situation like you get at the trade deadline. One thing that, though, I think is different based off, honestly, probably the previous 8 years of Chris Ballard's tenure. When have the Colts ever been in October and been in a position like this?
Were they this
when?
good in 2020?
No, I would argue 19 more than 20 record-wise.
Okay.
So 20, Rivers kind of struggled early in the year. I think you were 500-ish, I want to say, like at this point. And then you got hot after that. 2019, you actually started 5-2 with the man you might see under
the year
center
I was thinking about
coming up on Sunday in Jacoby Brissett. That 5-2.
But even then, you're not going to make a move.
Had some fool's gold with it. And that
was the year that Andrew Luck walked away, right?
Just before the start of that season.
Yeah, so you're probably not going to make a crazy move to try to go win it with Jacoby Brissett,
right? So I don't think they've ever been in this situation.
That's fair.
Under Ballard of 4-1, and the thing that Ballard has mentioned quite often, I brought it up on yesterday's show, he is a big believer that outside of record, something that is a good indicator of how quality of a football team you are is point differential. If you want to look a little bit deeper into just not wins and losses, well, again, their point differential right now is the best in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
And, I brought up yesterday, if you look at it over the last decade, teams that have had great point differentials at this point of a season, virtually all of them have gone on to not only make the playoffs, but win playoff games, and half of them got to the Super Bowl. So if Ballard is looking, again, or I'm trying to put myself into Ballard's shoes. All right, yes, James is obviously 1,000% right. He has only had one of these trades in 8 years, but this is different from a position standpoint. So I'm very curious to see how the next, because I believe we still got a month left till the trade deadline. I want to say it's November 3rd or something like that. I mean, we still got a lot of time. I know we've already seen a handful of trades here over the last week or so, but they've got a lot of time to sift this through and a lot of games to be played. One thing to note as well, they did already trade away their 6th-round pick for Mekhi Blackmon. So when you talk about trading future picks, obviously they have all of their other picks in 2026, but they did move. Oftentimes you see a 6th-rounder, for example, traded for some of these guys. They did already move that for Mekhi Blackmon, who now looks like a guy that is really, really needed given their cornerback situation.
And we'll update everybody on that cornerback situation. Still kind of up in the air on Kenny Moore. What's the latest that we know that we can tell people this morning?
He didn't practice again yesterday. So the thought going into
7
yesterday's
practice.
Yes. Thanks for counting there, Kevin. I feel like you're always good with the lists and the numbers and the dates. I always go to 1075thefan.com to make sure I'm double checking some things on my counting. But he did not practice yesterday. Shane Steichen said they were going to try to test him. And Kenny Moore did speak in the locker room, and he was talking about, how frustrating it is and, how he does want to get out there sooner rather than later, but he's got to be smart about it. So he did say that having been through so many things in his career as a veteran, that he, he's mentally in a good space and he's not, pressing. And I think part of that too, though, is when your team is winning, that takes less pressure off of you to try to force your way back or rush your way back. So if there is an opportunity to perhaps sit him again this week, I don't see why you wouldn't do that against a passing offense, which Jeff pointed out is one of the worst in the league when it comes to the Cardinals.
James, I don't know if you reacted this way, but I did get squeamish yesterday when Kenny Moore uttered the phrase, "I dodged the full rupture." And I'm just like, that sounds, just even the thought of that sounds horrific. And it's all probably PTSD here in our local market.
Oh, absolutely.
Of Achilles injuries. But even him just saying that, I was glad that I dodged the full rupture. I'm like, gosh, hearing rupture of Achilles, doesn't that just sound worse than like a tear?
Yeah.
Or I don't know, maybe it all sounds the same.
I was going to say it all sounds bad.
Rupture is just such a big word. I don't know.
As someone
like it
who
exploded or something?
Yeah.
I will tell you this, as someone who basically lost 9 months of my physical life after rupturing a patella tendon, I can't even fathom what a professional athlete's got to go through mentally, emotionally, let alone physically, when something like that happens. It's got to be terrifying for them because you're starting to think about your career at that point, don't you?
And with Kenny, too, given this injury, I do have a thought of, does he need at least a full week of practice? He's only missed 2 games, but still, is this an injury where you would want to be out there? Usually for a veteran player like Kenny Moore, yes, he missed yesterday, but if he practiced today and tomorrow, I would say for most veterans, you would think that's enough for that guy to play on Sunday. But given the nature of this injury, an Achilles injury, do you feel like you need a little bit more on the practice front? I mean, honestly, the Wednesday injury report was pretty clean for the Colts. Braden Smith, yeah, he did have the sleeve on the right leg, but it was just rest for him. Grover Stewart was full. Bicep injury for a big dude, sometimes that's worrisome. Alec Pierce, obviously, he's got to check a few more boxes, but it was good to see him back out there at practice. So all in all, it was a pretty clean Wednesday injury report for the Colts, and relatively clean for the Cardinals. Just their quarterback is one of the 2 guys that didn't practice, and we know full well even a limited Kyler Murray changes a whole lot of. Kyler Murray dealing with a foot injury is different than Matthew Stafford dealing with a foot injury.
It's interesting to watch their different styles. You see a guy like Lamar Jackson who's been so good at every aspect of his game play, and when he starts to run, it's kind of this very ultra, almost a glide, smooth thing that he does. Kyler Murray is fast and quick, but it almost looks like it looks different when he does it. Kind of like a little bug on the water just scooting around, man. Yeah, it's like his Roadrunner wheels get going, and you can kind of see it going on where it looks like Lamar Jackson just kind of slides down the field. It's different to me to watch the different styles that they have sometimes. But, if you got a bum foot, probably hard to do any of that, I would think.
Yeah, certainly will be a factor in this matchup for sure.
Yep, so that'll come your way 1 o'clock Sunday. You'll hear it live right here on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Colts and Cardinals, the ride to kick off with JMV kicks us off at 9 a.m. from the Bullseye Event Center. And that's what we're looking for as far as the NFL is concerned. I know we've talked a lot about Indiana and Oregon, but I also think this is a really interesting chance for Purdue now to go on the road against Minnesota and show that they continue to make strides with Coach Odom and that offense. And we know that Jake Browning has looked pretty good at times this year. Jake Brown and
Ryan Brown.
I am with the Jakes and Jacobs today, which is my oldest's son. Thank you very much.
By the way, speaking of Ryan Brown, I did see that in those reports about North Carolina and Belichick, they pretty much told Ryan Brown to leave. He was at North Carolina. Again, he started for Purdue last year, went to North Carolina in the spring, and then I think they tried to recoup all of his NIL, if I read that correctly, as well. So among the list of drama and connections here to Ryan Brown. Yeah, I mean, if you look at Purdue's schedule, Jeff, it's now or never if you're going to sniff a five wins is probably way too high. If you're going to sniff a Big Ten win, frankly. What is it? Is it Minnesota, Northwestern, Rutgers? Is that the next 3?
And to your point, that's why I bring them up. There's a chance for them to show that they've taken a step forward this year.
Yeah, and I don't know. I know you were patting them on the back a little bit more from their performance with Illinois. I wanted to see more competitiveness against Illinois. I thought that was a great opportunity for them at home. to potentially
chill out. I did not want to see that.
Well, yeah.
After
I guess
being
this
hurt.
diehard Illinois football fan over there, James
Yes.
Boyd.
Me and my 3 players I can name.
Living and dying with Brett Bielema. But like Illinois,
no joke though. Seriously, I really did expect a more of a push from them.
Illinois come off 2 pretty emotional weeks.
Yeah,
you get
for
your ass
sure.
kicked in Bloomington, and then the USC game was a wild game, and they win that on a game-winning field goal. Purdue gets them at home, coming out of a bye. I wanted to see like fourth quarter. You've got to drive to potentially win it.
They moved the ball well.
Et cetera. They have scored, against Notre Dame. They certainly scored for a half. Obviously, USC, they got down to the red zone and turned it over there. So, I think it's a big October here for a Barry Odom company.
Yeah, I guess this is the way I look at it. They were losing 66-0 a year ago. They had no hope of even scoring a touchdown in games last year. There was nothing happening whatsoever. The fact that they, to me, I know they gave up 56 points, but the fact that they could put up 30 at Notre Dame and then put up 27 on, I still think, a pretty good Illinois team, believe it or not, James. There's progress to me there. I mean, they weren't even a consideration for teams that played them last year. And now they're starting to do a few things. And I don't know that they're going to win more than 4 games this year, but it just feels like they have taken a step forward. That's why I think playing against Minnesota this weekend is very important in any of these next 3. At Minnesota, at Northwestern, and Rutgers, as you point out, that's your shot, because after that, it's Michigan, Ohio State, at Washington, and Indiana. Good luck.
James, I don't know if you felt this watching last night, but we got this from the text line. Can we just stop for a second and contemplate that the Fever, as depleted as they were, took the Aces to overtime in Game 5 of the conference finals? And now here we are watching the Aces up 3-0 on the Mercury here in the championship. Does that make it hurt more?
I think so. I got this same reaction on social media last night. Someone was asking me, hey, were the Fever the second best team in the league without Caitlin Clark and without a plethora of other players?
It's like Purdue fans watching Houston make the run all the way to the title game last year. Like, damn, you had it right there in the Sweet 16 inside of Lucas Oil Stadium.
But honestly, it for me at least confirmed that they made the right decision to kind of go all in on this season. And I get that it didn't work out because Caitlin Clark was hurt, and I never expected them to win it all without her. But, man, you're just thinking, like, had she been available, even with all the other injuries, and obviously, I'm glad that Kelsey Mitchell, what she went through was, more than cramping from what they described to us, and I'm glad she's fine. But you think, man, if we have that other player, we could have pulled this off. And I also think that, Stephanie White, beyond just the offensive personnel, she deserves a ton of credit for the way she defended Asia Wilson. I think Aaliyah Boston is one of the better defenders on her, one-on-one in the league. But I'm watching the game last night, and I don't know if the Phoenix Mercury coach knows that, like, Asia Wilson is one of the best players in the world, but double her. I would make anybody else beat me. Look, if Jackie Young goes off and she wins Finals MVP because I doubled the crap out of Asia Wilson, that's fine.
I was shocked.
But I watched way too many possessions where she's just facing up. Okay, I got my time. I can get to my spot. Let me jab, step. I'm like, where is the other person?
And I only watched the final couple minutes. I was shocked that they let her catch that ball so easily on the final possession. Like, that to me was because what they have, probably 6, 7 seconds, 8 seconds, something like that. If you deny her initially, there's a chance she doesn't touch the ball.
Yeah.
Now again,
and she hadn't touched it really all fourth quarter.
Now again, Jewel Lloyd and Jackie Young and Chelsea Gray obviously can make big shots and have made big shots, but I would like to go down swinging with one of them shooting a contested jumper than Asia Wilson at least getting to operate right away. And it was a hell of a shot. They eventually ran the double team at her, but big time play.
That's why she's good. 34-14. We'll talk a little bit more about that and the specifics in the check down coming up in a few minutes here. But Mark, I know if you can grab the mic real quick, I'm just curious, as you bounce from house to hotels to probably a different hotel room when it's all said and done, and you have all these plumbing things going on. You got a late night game with the Cubs tonight.
Boo.
Baseball is going on. I love baseball, especially this time of year. I kind of get bored with it during the middle of the summer, the way they play these days. But it feels like fall baseball, and you've watched your whole life. But fall baseball, specifically once they turn the page to the playoffs, it looks like all the baseball we grew up with all the time.
It takes up a level of like competitiveness that you don't normally see, and it doesn't matter. I mean, I think baseball is one of the more regional sports. It's national, but unless your team is playing, you're usually not paying attention to it. But when postseason baseball comes, I'm locked into everything. I'm all of a sudden like, Let me see a little bit more aside from the Mariners, aside from Big Dumper, which is what everybody knows. Like, what got them to this point? How are they playing? The Tigers, all that stuff. It's all fascinating to me, and it's been a fun postseason so far. So glad to see the Cubs season continue for at least one more game. But I hate that late start. Absolutely hate it. Makes no sense. Why are the Midwest teams playing at 9 o'clock and then a game in LA is at 3 in the afternoon local time? Makes no sense at all.
My guess they can get markets in Chicago and Los Angeles into the primetime window. Both is probably the reason. So
they can stick that where.
That's a spirit.
Good morning, Mark. How you doing today?
I ate Frosted Flakes out of a coffee cup, and my wife said my daughter slipped in the tub in the hotel room. So it's been fun.
What's the one thing when you spend the night at a hotel and they have the continental breakfast? What's the one thing you want to see when you turn the corner coming off the elevator?
Biscuits and gravy. But I will say the bacon extra crispy this morning.
Oh,
it was delicious.
Yeah, it's probably the bacon
about
for
throwing
me.
some in there, from your.
I should have brought some for you.
Jeez, man.
Honestly, you weren't top of mind today, as I was thinking. I might have to.
Mark?
I might have to.
I wore a Cubs shirt for you last week. You can't even bring in a little bacon in a bowl for me.
After thinking I might have to plunge the tub in the hotel room at 5:30 in the morning, can't say Kevin Bowen and bacon was at the top of my mind. Top of my to-do list.
Can you write that down for tomorrow if you have to stay
I
again
can
tonight?
see if there's some scraps when I go back there after the show. I'll be like, can I bring some for my friend? It'll be day-old bacon, but I don't think you'll complain.
You're going to hide it from the front desk clerk as you're sliding out the front door?
No, because he wanted me to plunge the bathroom this morning. I'm taking this. This is mine now.
A little cinnamon
Might
roll
take it one of those-
Danish. Does that intrigue you at all when you turn the corner?
Yeah, I usually do like to see, if I have enough time, like the waffle maker.
No,
I could go waffle. The last
Yep.
hotel I stayed in didn't have one. I was a little surprised.
If
Not
I would have
that
had time, I
Doesn't
would have
matter
done
too
a
much.
waffle today because one of the waffle, they always have like the regular waffles and they always have like a special waffle. The one today was s'mores, and I was very intrigued by that one.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't have 3 minutes to spare at this point.
Yeah,
You're
I
on
definitely feel that too. My willingness to use the waffle maker always comes down to how many people are trying to use this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And usually I'm a guy who will get up, like, if it's at breakfast at 7, I'll be down there by like 7:05 because I just want to get out the way. Because, Lord, if you wait till, if it's from 7 to 10 and gets that last hour, you're not getting anything. You know, you're getting the scraps and you're waiting in line. And I don't wait in line for free breakfast.
Yeah, Kevin, you're on it, though. I try to be really good because I travel a lot, and it's easy to just eat whatever at those places because they always have the jelly donuts and all that kind of stuff. And I try to do just maintain, right? Maybe some yogurt, a couple of scrambled eggs, and the oatmeal. But if they got biscuits and gravy, it's on. It's on. That'll derail me every single time.
Indoor pool, Mark. for the
Indoor
girls?
pool. The pool is
Okay.
available.
That's vital.
I've got a late checkout today. I honestly might go over there and be like, you know what? I'm taking a dip. I don't care.
Hey, you know what? You deserve it.
40-year-old man getting laps in the Hampton Inn indoor
Kids
pool
are in
at
school.
11:30 a.m.
The St. Louis Cardinals fan and I, if he's still there, I mean, we might hang out a little bit. But yeah.
Mark shoving in nose plugs as he dives in.
Hey,
No, we're
man.
doing cannonballs and all that stuff. You gonna do
respect it.
handstands underwater? Watch this.
All right, let's check it down, Caleb, see what we have going on here. Kevin, this is the biscuits and gravy edition of the check down this morning.
Someone said
Let's
in the
go.
YouTube chat, hotel gravy equals a risk I can't take. Hey, you ain't lying.
No,
Yeah.
if Mark's worried about his plumbing, I don't know if I'd be going for that gravy.
Yeah.
Man.
I'm gonna be putting as much money in it as I need to. I'm testing the mic.
Boy.
The Colts and Cardinals, Sunday afternoon, 1 o'clock, Lucas Oil Stadium. Our coverage begins at 9 a.m. with the Ride to Kickoff, JMV, over at the Bullseye Event Center. We were speaking specifically about injuries a few moments ago, but who are we most worried about right now as we head into a Thursday practice? That sounds like Kenny Moore, second's going to be on the show for a while. I guess we wait to see what happens with concussions and everything else, right?
Well, to give a little quick recap, Alec Pierce was back out there practice yesterday, a full participant. He was sort of in the same spot last week, so we do have to kind of wait and see if he can clear through the full steps of the concussion protocol. And then good news that Grover Stewart was out there, a full participant from his biceps injury, so looks to avoid a major injury there. And then, like you said, Kenny Moore, the second missed practice. We'll see if he practices today. But I'm leaning more on the side of, hey, if you got to keep him out for one more week, You do that, you're facing an Arizona Cardinals team that is not very good when it comes to passing the football. So keep him healthy and try to avoid any setbacks there.
All right, as far as the Colts and their roster, they picked up a linebacker yesterday. Someone, once again, Kevin Bowen, very familiar to Lou Anarumo and his system.
Yeah, so Jermaine Pratt, he's got 92 career starts in the NFL. He pointed out yesterday that Lou Anarumo, the first defensive draft pick he had, was Jermaine Pratt, called him a father figure. So clearly, they're very tight. Little awkward on the Raiders' tenure for Jermaine Pratt. Did start the first 4 games of the season for Pete Carroll this year, and then didn't make the trip to Indy, and then was released, and now he's here. So, again, the bar to upgrade at the linebacker spot next to Zaire Franklin is low, very low. So it shouldn't take much, and the guy should be in game shape, but at the same time, the Lou Anarumo background personnel moves this offseason, or this season, I should say, they haven't gone well, period. So, for the Colts' sake, hopefully this one goes better.
All right. Also in the AFC South, the Jacksonville Jaguars made a trade yesterday with the Cleveland Browns. They picked up cornerback Greg Newsome. Later on tonight, the Giants and Eagles play on Thursday Night Football. WNBA last night, the Las Vegas Aces take a 3-0 lead over the Phoenix Mercury. They nearly blew. In fact, they did blow a 17-point lead in the second half, but it didn't matter because they have got Asia Wilson, and with less than a few seconds to go, she gets the ball, turns, makes an amazing shot, and with less than a second, the ball goes through the net, and they go on to get Game 3 in the win.
Yeah, they showed a still photo of the shot afterwards, and I was thinking, wow, I can see that being, hung in her house someday just because it is one of those shots you remember for a long time and kind of defines where she is in her career. She is the best player in the world, and I don't think it's all that close, to be honest. I think that, there's some other great players out there, Nafisi Collier, Alyssa Thomas on the other side of these finals, but there's levels to this, and she showed that, last night with another dominant performance in a game where, it could have gone either way down the stretch, but that 3-0 lead, I think that is a loss for the Mercury that takes the life out of you because it's over. You're dead.
Mm-hmm. Jackie Young, Indiana's own, 21 points. By the way, Wilson scored 34 points, 14 rebounds. Game 4 will take place in Phoenix on Friday night. Major League Baseball last night. Cubs over the Brewers by a score of 4-3. That got a little hairy at the end there, but they hang on to win, and they survive to play another day, Kevin Bowen.
Mark, bases were loaded with 2 outs, right, in the 8th. I don't think it was ever 1 out there. But, yes, that was a little dicey there. Obviously, the Cubs, which they've really done in this series, they jumped all over them early. So, again, that will be tonight. And the Kyle Schwarber, the first home run from last night, I'm still not sure if it landed out there in L.A. Schwarber up to Schwarber things. The Phillies. It's kind of wild. When you get one, I mean, all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute here.
You're back in it.
You only need to get to 3. So Joel Erickson might be getting a little text from Mark Dykton later today. He might be peacock strutting a little bit.
Tigers beat the Mariners. They stay alive in the American League. 9-3 was the final score there. And the Toronto Blue Jays have sent the New York Yankees packing. 5-2, the final score yesterday. They win that series 3-1.
Did you guys catch Vlad Guerrero Jr. on the postgame show going, the Yankees lose? And he had David Ortiz in tears. And Alex Rodriguez and Derek Jeter were just, they wanted to laugh, but they could not laugh.
I saw
it was one of the funnier scenes. Mark, we should play that audio.
I think David Ortiz is kind of like the Charles Barkley of their show.
I saw tweeted last night.
Yeah, I saw that as well.
It's got an inside the NBA feel to it, and by no means do I watch it religiously. But watching that clip, I could see where they're coming from with that.
And he said that because a couple days ago he goes, "Yeah, the only way you're going to win this series is if you guys come back and play." I was like, That's typically what you would kind of you would get. Yep, exactly.
TBS they do studio shows right, man. They tend to not miss.
It was a funny clip from last night, unless you're a Yankees fan.
Later on today, Mark very upset about the Cubs playing at 9:08 tonight against the Milwaukee Brewers, which is really Central Time. If you're up there in Chicago, it's only an 8:08 start, Mark.
You're looking at midnight by the time that game gets done. What are you talking about?
Dodgers take on the Phillies. That one begins at 6:08 Eastern Time. Anything else you guys want to throw in before we move along here? We've got Scott Agnes coming up in a moment.
Yeah, Pacers practice coming up later today, so I know Scott will hit on that. We'll see about the updates with TJ McConnell. Also, if you're looking for something locally Saturday morning, I saw Butler's got an open practice. I actually went to one of their open practices last year with the family, 10:30, I believe, at Hinkle. So they've got a football game on campus at 1, but their men and their women will practice open to the public.
Yeah, I might pull up to
there,
that.
10:30 inside of Hinkle Fieldhouse on Saturday.
All right. That's what's going on in the world of sports right here, right now. We'll talk Pacers and a little bit of WNBA and fever as well with Scott Agnes from the Fieldhouse Files next. It's 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Payless Liquors Hotline. Scott Agnes, how is your Thursday starting today?
Appreciate it. Good morning, guys. Going well. How about you?
So far, so good. Pacers, we got one game in the books for the preseason. What were your thoughts on their center rotation at this point in time?
Yeah, to me, it really didn't surprise me about that bunch with Isaiah Jackson and Jay Huff being your 1-2 guy. Obviously, Isaiah getting in foul trouble with 3 in the first 4 minutes or whatever it was. And so, like we've seen in years past, Rick Carlisle likes to keep bunches together, the groupings. And so that's why Tony Bradley came off the bench first so that Jay Huff could stay with that second unit. But I would say it kind of reinforced what we saw in terms of health from Isaiah Jackson and Fan Jam here in the first week in terms of coming off that Achilles, like still had that spring in his step and didn't seem to be thinking about it or overly concerned. So that's very positive coming off one of the most intense injuries there. But to me, coming into this season, Jeff, that was the number one concern. But now how much of our focus shifts to point guard after you see TJ McConnell with a hamstring and DeLon Wright with a head injury here? That's an obvious concern.
Scott Agnes, Fieldhouse Files, where you can find his work. Scott, I know one of your latest pieces hits on this, and it's probably an annual conversation that we've had here as we get into October. Pacers fans and watching their team play basketball this season, could you explain it in simplest terms?
Yes, I will. I think the simplest way to describe it is it can be the same as it has in the past. FanDuel app, your cable service, if you still subscribe to classic cable. The new option, I think, starting last year, can continue on. Is if you already have Prime Video, if it already works well for you, you can subscribe to FanDuel Sports Indiana through that directly. And right now it's $10 off. To save you there. But otherwise, no changes. The same usual crew's back, headlined with Denary and Buckner entering their 20th year together.
That is remarkable that Denary's at 20 years.
And is Boyle 38, Scott? On radio?
Yeah, that's what I have. Yep, and he just signed a contract extension, he announced. So
Incredible.
That's fantastic.
Jeez, that is the life to live. And so when you look at this Pacers team going into this year, Scott, going back to the point guard conversation, I guess, how do you think they'll be tested right out of the gate, in this next preseason game? Well, perhaps in the foreseeable future, being down 2 point guards and already knowing that you didn't have Tyrese coming into it.
Yeah, I think it probably adjusts your strategy, first of all, in terms of preseason. It means a lot of reps here over the next week, probably for Quentin Jackson, for rookie Taylen Peter as well. And then once you get to the regular season, then I think you just make do with what you got in terms of, guys playing, getting additional minutes. I mean, going back to takeaways from that first game, we knew Siakam was going to have ball handling responsibilities, and I think some of that was reinforced during the first half when the starters played out there with Siakam, for example. And so, yeah, this complicates it. It's another reason why I knew right away that they would have to bring in another point guard even before these injuries. Now, here's the other thing to it is you hope that Ben Shepherd will be back by opening night. He's been dealing with something, a calf strain, I believe, here in the first week of camp or so, did not play in the game. Rick Carlisle expects for him or hopes for him to return to practice today. And so hopefully he'll be good to go by opening night. We do know Cam Jones, the rookie guard, will be out at least several weeks dealing with a back injury. So that adds to the depth issue there at the guard that they just have to figure out here on the fly.
Scott Agnes joining here from Fieldhouse Files on the Payless Liquors hotline. What do you think Rick is most interested in finding out over these next couple of preseason games?
I think it would just be the chemistry with that second unit line to me by Jarris Walker and Johnny Furphy, because you know what Toppin is. You knew what McConnell was. You want to see that. I think overall you want to make sure, confirm that hunger, that togetherness, all that stuff that were key buzzwords for the team that allowed them to thrive last season, Jeff, are still there coming off an off season. And then mostly the rest of the way, then it's figuring out what you have with your two-ways, your rookies, getting them time out there. And to the bit larger point as well is seeing your centers and figuring out your depth and rotation and seeing how many minutes you can lean on. I thought one of the things the Pacers also reinforce is their playing style in terms of picking up full court. We're doing that in a preseason game. Yes, this Pacers team is. And more than that is they're playing with great pace. I think they had 14 fast break points at the end of the first quarter. That's an incredibly rapid pace and something you want to continue on, but that requires the centers to be in phenomenal shape for them to last that duration.
Scott, I did want to throw in one, I guess, Fever WNBA question before we let you go. What's kind of next on the horizon from an off-season standpoint? I assume it's some sort of CBA-related meeting or so. I don't know exactly when the deadline is for that, but what should we be paying attention to next?
Yeah, everything's really now put on hold after the finals and until something is reached with the collective bargaining agreement that expires on Halloween at the end of the month. And all along, even before it feels like it's gotten more contentious, KB, I did not expect anything to be reached by that deadline. They were just too far apart. The last one, I think, was reached in January. So that one went several more months. The complication now in all this becomes you have two expansion teams. We still have no idea how the expansion draft works, how many players teams can protect. And then because of the new CBA coming, so many players in the league took one-year contracts. So a massive portion of the league is free agents, and so it could be the wild, wild west once you reach free agency. But no, all eyes are on this CBA and coming off comments from Kathy Engelberg addressing the media at the finals, as she always does, and we'll see where it goes from here. But it has not been positive here in the last several months at least.
Scott, we've seen this Aces team go up 3 on the finals last night, and I got a few reactions from Fever fans like, man, were we the best or second best team in the league? So have you gotten some of those responses? I will say the Aces were tested in the first round, went to 3 games, won by 1 in that decisive game 3 against the Storm, 5 games against the Fever. But have you gotten a sense for just this, man, I wish we were healthy, sort of narrative from some of the fan base, considering just how things have shaken out in the finals?
Yeah, entirely. Absolutely. And the challenge in all this, because of what we saw in Game 5, is Kelsey Mitchell probably wouldn't be playing right now. Like, she'd have to be taking it easy for at least a month and a half. So you're going to take her out of the rotation, then I don't think it's realistic for them to compete. But if Kelsey was in there, and after her having a career year, and if they were, you like the Fever's chances. Now, this is where I go back so many times to how much it is often about matchups and that type of thing. Because the Fever do not match up well against the Mercury and that physicality and such. I don't think that's a good matchup. But the Aces were, and the hard play, and they got them out of their sets, and they had just the right defensive intensity and such that it worked out well. But how could you not be a Fever fan, watch this, and be like, hey, look, we won 1 game, the first game. Hey, look, we split the first 4 games. Yeah, that's got to be the natural tendency. But I do want to remind everyone, Kelsey Mitchell inevitably would not be playing right now, given what she dealt with in Game 5.
Get rid of that context, Scott. I don't want to be hearing all this stuff this morning, but appreciate the insight. And actually, the last one before I let you go, related to the Pacers, Johnny Furphy, over under 7.5 poster dunks this year.
Ooh. When you have a poster, that's aggressive.
Well, I'll say highlight reel worthy dunk.
Yeah.
He almost had one the other night. The guy got out of the way.
I thought it was pretty good. Yeah.
I mean, there was one. I'm giving him that one the other night, so I would take the over on that for sure.
I'm loving his rim
seems
attacks.
like he's gunning for him, and he's got those fresh legs, young legs, where it just comes so easily for him.
Yeah, I'm hoping that the Halliburton ones have something to do with that. Perhaps when Halliburton comes back from the Achilles, he'll be dunking like Johnny Furphy here in a year or so.
Yeah, it's kind of cool he's supporting him, but also he's got a Puma deal, so it's a natural instinct for him to wear those as well.
Always good to talk to you, Scott. Have a good day. We'll talk to you soon.
You got it. Thanks, guys.
Scott Agnes, Fieldhouse Files. Check out his stuff there on the Substack, and it'll be interesting to see how those rotations start to develop over the next couple of games for the Indiana Pacers.
Absolutely. It is here, and I believe the season opener, you talked about how many times they got to play the Thunder. The season opener is against the Thunder, Thursday night's
right?
game. Yes, 7:30 tip-off.
That Shepherd getting back to practice, it might be him or Furphy for maybe that last guard spot with the second unit.
Yeah.
I know height-wise or whatever, they're maybe not the same exact player, but when you think about the second unit, assuming everyone's healthy, McConnell, Toppin, Walker, some center, insert your center here. You need kind of a two guard to join that group. I would think Shepard or Furphy, and those are two dudes that Rick Carlisle loves how they play. So might be something to keep an eye on here with 3 preseason games to go.
All right. There was a question I was talking to some folks over yesterday in the afternoon here at the building, and then I thought I'd bring back, and then I saw a texter had asked the same question to John last night. It has to do with the Colts and what they do long-term moving forward. I have a question for you guys regarding that next on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Text line up and running, 239-1070, the number to text in. You can also call us at that number and get on the air if you have something you want to get off your chest. In the meantime, it's Kevin Bowen, James Boyd. I'm Jeff Rickard. We've got young Caleb in as Mark Dykton. He's supposed to be showing you the ropes, but near as I can tell, you know exactly what you're doing already, Caleb, and he's just over there playing Farm Heroes or something in the corner.
Listen,
Plumber's on the phone.
Oh, is that what it is?
It's good to kind of give him a little break. I know it's been a hectic morning for him.
I might leave. I might dip out early and go to the pool. I'm not kidding. I might leave. You don't need me. I've taught you everything I know. Young grasshopper. I might go get a dip in.
I know it's getting real because Caleb has the Tigers hat on backwards now. He's
Get
flipped it
another-
around.
Get another batch of crispy bacon, too.
Yeah. We were talking about this around the office yesterday. I was talking to some of the salespeople, and I've heard other people ask this question too. We're only 5 games into the season. The Colts are 4-1. Obviously, Daniel Jones has been a sensation so far this year. Jason wanted to know, James Boyd, is it time to start thinking about contract talks with Daniel Jones? And I'm thinking, well, we still got a lot of a season left. Maybe you start to think about it, but I don't know you start talking about it, but you don't want to let him hit the open market if things continue to go well either. So where are you at if you're Chris Ballard and the Daniel Jones long-term situation at this point?
I would not extend him right now. And honestly, you still probably don't have to go down that path until you get to the offseason. You have the franchise tag you could possibly use, which would pay him, I believe, around $46 million guaranteed next year. And I also know that there's like some rules to like how you can extend him and all this stuff. There's a bunch of jargon that I have to kind of get through on that topic, but the better he plays, the more that conversation increases, and I think the noise around it.
Yes. Yeah, I think Stephen Holder was mentioning yesterday, James, like you cannot increase his cap number if you extend him, so that would complicate some things in season potentially on what would it look like. Obviously, the comps are pretty obvious. Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, something along those lines. The franchise tag that James brings up very well could be there. Does the Jones camp say, hey, I need to see guarantees in the contract that look like the franchise tag because the franchise tag is fully guaranteed. Urgency-wise in season, I don't think it's anything too crazy. He does have injury history, so we're only 5 games into the season. That would probably be something you'd want to cover yourself for a little bit. But again, it's going to be fascinating to watch if the extension happens. What's the length of it? What do both parties want? I mean, is there any part of Daniel Jones that says, man, I'll take that guaranteed franchise tag for a year because I think I'm going to play this well again next year, and then maybe then
it's on.
Because how old is he? 28?
28.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's young, youngish for a quarterback there, so he can definitely still get to a, pretty penny. And then, of course, you have all of the is this the Daniel Jones mirage that was in New York for a year? Is this Geno Smith in Seattle, and then Geno Smith leaves, and now it's not going well? Or is it Baker Mayfield? Or is it more than, I think it'll be one of the more debatable things in how it looks. It's obviously a huge topic for the Colts here, but I don't think the urgency necessarily needs to be there. I mean, we aren't even a third of the way through the NFL season, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's anything you need to be doing here the next couple weeks.
Yeah, I would definitely wait until you have at least double-digit games under your belt and how you start to feel. It's also, how's it feel within that locker room, within the team? Does the team feel like this is our guy?
Absolutely. Right now,
all that stuff.
Yeah, that goes without question.
Yeah. So there's still,
and I would toss in this too, and maybe we'll play it on the other side. But Michael Pittman Jr. had a comment after the game in regards to Daniel Jones. It sounded like very, it sounded like just kind of a very I don't know, an elementary compliment. Like maybe not the biggest compliment in the world, but when you think about the inconsistent quarterback play the Colts have gotten in recent years, it actually was quite the compliment. I do think when your quarterback, you're like, what's the greatest thing Daniel Jones has done through 5 weeks? If we ask that question, to me, it's staying away from the negatives. I mean, outside of that Rams game, and again, even that game, it's not like he was awful. Yes, threw a couple picks, and he was missing a starting right guard, and I think that probably impacted some of the pressure the Colts allowed on that day. But he just stays away from the negatives. Sacks, interceptions, behind the chains, and sometimes the boring 4-yard dump pass to Jonathan Taylor might not scream any sort of highlight reel, but it creates another 3rd and 2. And when you live in 3rd and 2, you're going to live in a successful offense. So I think that's something that's been probably his best attribute.
Well, it's been fun to watch through 5 games. Let's see if we can keep this thing rolling. Again, they got the Arizona Cardinals coming up Sunday afternoon at 1 o'clock, and we're just waiting to find out if Kyler Murray's going to play quarterback or if it's our old friend Jacoby Brissett for the Arizona Cardinals, which I would imagine changes the way that they approach their offense altogether. 2 very different guys.
Absolutely, but also just along the lines of just keeping things, I guess, in the Colts' wheelhouse, you got Marvin Harrison Jr. coming to play his first game as a professional in Indianapolis, and that made me think a lot about Jim Irsay and how much he would enjoy a weekend like this. His team's rolling. You got the familiar family coming to your house. I would imagine that, Marvin Sr. might pop up. I don't know if that's a guarantee or not, but something to keep in mind on that front.
All right, so the Colts and Cardinals coming your way this weekend. We got a lot of college football to talk about yet, too. We'll talk more about Oregon and Indiana, a battle of 2 forget top 10, James, 2 top 7 teams. That's how good it's getting right now. Let's see if Indiana can start to get a win on the road against a great football team. We'll discuss it all next. The phone lines continue to stay open, 239-1070. It's the Fan Morning Show with Kevin Bowen, James Boyd, Jeff Rickard, Mark Dykton over there looking for plumbers, and Caleb right here on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Good Thursday morning, getting ready for a full weekend of football. As always, Operation Football returns tomorrow morning, 7:30 with Dominic Miranda from Channel 13. We'll get you ready to go for all the great games coming up in high school football this week. And, of course, on Saturday, this is the place to be as Indiana has a 3:30 kickoff with Oregon. Oregon, the number 3 team in the AP poll. Indiana, the number 7 team in the AP poll. And this is going to be a real test because there were a lot of people that were kind of disappointed, Kevin, with the Indiana offense on the road at Iowa, but they did just enough to win. And there were a lot of people saying if Iowa's quarterback hadn't gotten hurt in that game, maybe it would have turned out different. That was some of the post game from the Iowa side. Either way, Indiana gets out of there with a Big Ten road win. And now it gets real against an Oregon team that had a week off after the big win over Penn State.
Yeah, both teams coming off their bye week. So, yeah, cannot wait for this one. I mean, when you think about there's a reason why College Game Day is going there, and the winner of this is in, pole position, frankly, to be playing right here down the road for a Big Ten championship. And every time I say it out loud, it's just wild that we're talking about Indiana football in that light. We got a text line. Somebody commented about how last year against Ohio State and Notre Dame overmatched in the trenches, and you feel like you're better in the trenches this season. I think I agree with that. Now, Kurt Signetti pushed back earlier this week when that was brought up. He was like, let's not, turn our head. We were outplayed everywhere in those games. So, when you think about the perimeter against Oregon, they have a lot of speed. So how does Indiana handle that as well? Certainly trench play obviously is a big part of it, especially if it's ugly weather, which it looks like there could be some rain. And how well can Indiana hold up in the trenches? Because, they just kicked Illinois' ass in multiple facets, but particularly I thought in the trenches. Against Iowa, maybe come back down to earth a little bit. That Iowa O-line, pretty good. So definitely will be big storylines for Saturday.
239-1070, number to call. Bill is on the line. He wants to talk a little Hoosier Ducks football this morning. Happy Thursday, Bill. Welcome into the show.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for taking my call as I drink my first cup of microwave reheatable coffee that I made yesterday.
Been there.
Yeah. Hey, I wanted to talk a little bit about IU and Oregon and specifically there's been a lot of buzz lately about how much NIL money that Oregon has. Oregon beat Oregon State this year 69-3, and former coach Mike Gundy of the Cowboys claimed that Oregon had $40 million at its disposal for NIL money. The quarterback, who is now a leading contender for the Heisman Trophy, Dante Moore, formerly of UCLA, his NIL cut at the beginning of the year was $624,000, and now it's up to $1.4 million. So with the success that he's had so far, and plus that victory over Penn State, he has doubled his money. And teams that don't have those kind of budgets, it's difficult to compete with that. And the fact that the university has called for everybody to wear the same shirt. They're going to have everybody's supposed to have yellow shirts in the Oregon crowd this weekend. And so you have to pay $25 for those shirts. You got 50,000 people in the stands. So now the students or whoever's attending the game is kind of funding that NIL effort through Nike, and it's just a little bit unfair. Signetti has been very tempered in his comments about the NIL money that Oregon has, but the only solution that seems plausible to me is that if you have a huge NIL budget, that your pre-conference schedule has to contain other teams that have similar budgets. Now, I know that the schedule is made out like 2 years or 1 year ahead of time, so it's difficult to be able to determine how much NIL money that you have. And plus, these people are pretty smart. I mean, they can wait until after the schedule comes out and everything, and all of a sudden there's more NIL money that comes into the program. And this is what people were arguing in the Supreme Court was going to happen to college football. That was going to become much more of a business from the player's standpoint. But I'm just curious to know what the solution is as far as the pre-conference scheduling and everything that you have to schedule teams that have similar budgets. What are your thoughts?
Well, I will tell you this, that the NCAA salary cap is now in place for athletes. It's set at $20.5 million a year for this year, and it's expected to increase to about $32 million over the next 10 years. But to his point, it doesn't mean every single school is necessarily going to spend all of that money, and that's across all sports, by the way, too. So what do you do?
Well, that's just revenue share, right? That's not.
Yeah, I was gonna say
That's
that
revenue
NIL.
share.
You can get whatever you
that's
want.
revenue share, yeah.
Yeah.
So you can pay as much
What
as you want. NIL.
what the school can distribute, though, but you could go get a third-party NIL situation.
Yeah, which is what all
Right.
these players are doing. I mean, they're not relying on their school to tell me if I go to Alabama, Ohio State, or Oregon, I'm not letting my school tell me how much I can make off NIL. So I think Bill brings up some good points, but at least, and I'm not a college football connoisseur by any means, but watching it the last 10 to 15 years, it seems like the schools that had money before, and might have been doing something under the table, they're the same schools here now. I mean, Oregon has been a team that has always kind of been in the mix. And so when you get down to those last 4 or 5 teams, I feel like every year they're the same. You can take your 4 or 5 out of the same 10 schools. So I don't know how much it changes and how much that conversation is, just louder now because you can actually pay players.
Honestly, one of the programs that I think has taken one of the biggest 180s in relevancy, NIL money, now they can go out and get the quarterback, is Indiana.
Yeah.
I mean, Fernando Mendoza, I'm pretty sure is making close to $3 million. Was Indiana getting Fernando Mendoza?
No.
5 years ago? No. So, Indiana honestly has benefited from the NIL world, I think, arguably more than any other college football program, given the alumni base, given the resources that I think are there. Kurt Cignetti's maintained his staff. A lot of people, I think Notre Dame was one of the schools, came after Brian Haynes, their defensive coordinator, last year. They were able to retain this staff, which has been such a critical part of Cignetti's, various stops, again, because of a ton of alumni-based money and a ton of NIL resources. Oregon might have more, NIL depth necessarily, where Dante Moore's maybe here, but they're paying Dylan Thieneman from Purdue this amount of money, and maybe some other schools aren't necessarily in that boat. Obviously, the Nike element to Oregon has always been a little bit of a confusing part.
Oh, absolutely. I have said this, and I'm not joking. I know IU's doing very well when it comes to recruiting, especially in football these days, but I still think that Nike logo matters a lot to a 16 or 17-year-old.
Sure.
Seriously.
And I would say the last thing, too, with Bill from a non-conference standpoint, there is an element that, A, coaches want wins, and B, they want low-stress, early September, late August football. They want to play all their guys. It's kind of funny. We were talking with Ben Howlett the other day, the IU Indy coach. I won't say who the Big Ten school was, but one of the Big Ten schools was supposed to play IU Indy this year to start the college basketball season. When Ben Howlett was hired, they realized that's an IU Indy team that's going to press for 40 minutes a game and is going to come at you from a very unique angle.
Yeah, we're not trying to see
and
that.
that team said, screw that. We're done. We're going to go play a team that's going to bring it up slow, and we're going to ease in to our season. So non-conference schedules, we've been over this debate with Indiana. What I would like to see, and I would say this for any program, I would like to see one marquee non-conference game on an annual basis. And the SEC, by all accounts, that's what they have adopted now with the 9 conference games, and then you have to play one Power 4 and or Notre Dame. I like that. I think that's a part of college athletics that can make things appointment television, can play to your fan base and having marquee games in the month of September, and just makes it fun, for lack of a better term. And again, entertaining element of wow, we get Ohio State, Texas today? Wow, we get LSU, Clemson? We get Notre Dame at Miami, the first weekend of the year? I think that is something that's really key moving forward. You're never going to get a full non-conference schedule where everyone is making or has the same NIL budget. That's just not feasible.
What I do like, and maybe Kurt Cignetti thinks of this moving forward, if you start to get your share of quality conference wins like an Oregon or an Ohio State or a Penn State over the next couple of years, you get one of those games in the preseason, Kevin. To me, nationally, that's where you start to build a little bit of your brand, because people will watch those games early in the season because it is one of the 3 or 4 marquee games on the schedule. So
they're not watching Indiana State on a Friday night, lose 70-0.
Probably not. But no, as you get to the point where you're comfortable with, hey, we can hold our own against Penn State. We can hold our own at least have a chance to win against Ohio State. We can hold our own against Oregon. Maybe a couple of years of getting your shots in here and there. Maybe now you do start to build that national brand by playing somebody from the SEC on a early first or second week of the season.
And you're going to have to mandate it because, at the end of the day, coaches are going to schedule to how can we be one of the 12 teams in the playoff, period. And I get that. I mean, obviously, what do college basketball coaches schedule? 95% of them schedule to how can we get in the NCAA tournament? The Matt Painters of the world think differently. And it's, hey, stylistically, let's play Auburn, A&M, and Alabama, and we might get our ass kicked in one of those games, i.e. Auburn last year. But then when we face Houston in the NCAA tournament, we're going to be ready for them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly how it played out. So, again, the SEC has come down with that, and we'll see if the other conferences, particularly the Big Ten, because the SEC and the Big Ten, I think, are in a different world. We'll see if they follow suit.
Bill, appreciate the question as we get ready for Oregon and Indiana. And I was looking, we'll talk to Jason Hammer about this coming up at the bottom of the hour. But the over-under on this one is 55, which is interesting because it took overtime for Oregon to get to 30 against Penn State. And there are a lot of people that wonder whether or not Indiana can score 20 points against this Oregon defense. So that one starts to get really interesting to me. But also I use that as a tool to say, what are people really thinking? I think it's an 8.5-point spread right now, which – for Indiana going on the road, even that's a little bit of a left-handed compliment because that would have been a 15.5, 16-point, 18-point spread just 2 years ago.
Absolutely. I mean, this IU program has had one of the most remarkable turnarounds you've probably ever seen in the sport. So it's still crazy that Cignetti's, in year 2, and he's only got 2 losses right now on the resume, and those 2 losses were to 2 teams in the national championship last year.
So, again, weather could be a concern, as Kevin's been pointing out all week long. How does Indiana, cope with interior line play in the weather where it's just, big guys pushing on each other and you're trying to get a couple of yards to keep the chains moving and keep first downs and keep running the football. So that has been a problem last year at times against the bigger teams. Can they get over that at this point in time? But you'll hear it here live beginning at 2:30 with the pregame show with Fisher and Don Fisher and all the rest of the guys, and then at 3:30 we'll have the play-by-play for you. And I'm really looking forward to this football game. It's going to be a fun Saturday afternoon, and we'll get some. So I don't know. So I would imagine Jason is in on this game when we talk to him at 9:30. I mean, it's the biggest college football game around here for quite some time since the playoffs last year. Kevin,
I think he'd be in on anything that frankly has an intriguing line.
He's going to give us a breakdown of App
State. It could be for Buff against Park Tudor JV tennis, and he'd be all over that. Caleb, if you don't mind, can you cue up this Michael Pittman Jr. Describing Daniel Jones a little bit post-game? James, you probably talked to more players than anybody in the Colts locker room. I think Michael Pittman Jr. is one of the better quotes in the entire team.
Yes.
And
I would agree.
This line, sometimes when you get in the post-game mode, some of the clips can be a little bit throwaway. It's just, you're so reactionary to what just happened in the previous game that the timeliness of the quotes just kind of lose out after a day or so. But I found this interesting, a little bit more bigger picture in regards to what Daniel Jones has brought. And again, Michael Pittman Jr. Started with Phillip Rivers and then went to Carson Wentz and then Matt Ryan and then Anthony Richardson and Gardner Minshew thrown in there and Joe Flacco thrown in there. He's seen it all in his handful of seasons in the NFL. This was Michael Pittman Jr. after the game on Sunday in regards to Daniel Jones.
It's evident to see. I mean, we look like a completely different team. It's just like things just go right now. You know what I'm saying? Like we're in the past, maybe we felt like things always went wrong. Now we feel like things are always just going right. So we just got to keep it going and we got to work hard and just support him in any way that we can.
Like in a vacuum, it sounds kind of elementary, but when you hear
I think it's very telling.
Yeah. I walked away like, damn, that dude is right. And I mean, hell, even the end of the Denver game went the Colts' way. And I don't know how much control Daniel Jones had over that, probably very little. But like,
he was talking to the ref before the game, like, hey, man, if it just comes down to the wire, hook us up.
Does it not feel that way, though? Like, things are just going. And again, I'm a large believer in you create your own luck. You put yourself in situations to benefit from it. But I hear that from Michael Pittman Jr. I'm like, I think he's onto something there.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think if you're looking for one of the more candid players, it's probably Pittman. When he's frustrated, he usually will not be in the locker room when you get in there because he'll say something he regrets. That might be actually true in the moment. Or, if he's sticking around like he did this past Sunday, he's kind of unfiltered in a way that lets you know where his mindset is. And so I go back to what he said. I go back to what Zaire Franklin said about, hey, if we play at this standard, you don't meet that standard, you'll get ran off the field. I'll go back to Braden Smith saying, hey, we're tired of being the team that constantly has to fight our way back to, being in the playoff picture or hoping that other teams, help us with our own fortune. And he flatly told me, we're tired of being mediocre. And so you combine all those quotes together from all different phases of the football, whether it's offense, defense, special teams. Shagun Alubi, who had the block punt last week, Kevin, he had a quote that really I was like, man, playing it back. He was like, yeah, we just got buy-in this year. And he was like, sometimes you do, sometimes you don't, or something like that. And I was like, wow, is this like a shot at some players who aren't here anymore? Or how do you feel about that?
It sounds so like, wait, why is this not an annual thing?
Yeah.
Like some of the stuff, it is like that. But
I would argue that it's execution, especially on offense when it comes down to, because every player I've asked the same question, and we have all done it. What's different this year? And they'll tell you the cliches. Oh, we just want to win. Everyone's just locked in. We just care so much. You cared last year too, but I think the execution offensively in particular is just so much different. And quite honestly, when I look at the quarterback play from last year to this year, there's no part of me that could sit up here and tell you with a straight face, oh, Anthony Richardson would have been playing at this level. He would have been this efficient. And then the most shocking part when it comes to Daniel Jones is that he not only has been efficient, he's been aggressive. And when you hear him talk about Shane Steichen, there's some overlap there to what he talked about with Kevin O'Connell. And I believe a few weeks ago, I got a chance to ask him, like, hey, what'd you learn from them? And he mentioned the aggressiveness of the offense and how, convicted they are in their game plan and going after, deep shots and different mismatches. And you're seeing that manifest itself in a way that we just haven't seen before with this Colts team scoring at an absurd rate.
Well, they are, as you mentioned earlier in the show, Kevin, plus 74 after 5 games in plus-minus differential. That you're playing maybe not the greatest teams right now, but you're hammering those teams. And it's just not easy to do that in the National Football League on a consistent basis.
No. Directional schools, as James Boyd pointed out earlier in the week, they don't really exist.
All right, let's check it down and let you know what you need to have under your belt as you get going for the day in the world of sports. As we've been talking about, Colts and Cardinals, 1 o'clock Sunday afternoon, Lucas Oil Stadium. And for those just joining us here in the 9 o'clock hour, thank you for being here. James Boyd, what did we learn on the injury report yesterday?
Yeah, I would say, starts with probably Kenny Moore not practicing. He remains out. We'll see if he practices today due to the Achilles injury that he's kind of trying to manage through. We did see Alec Pierce out there from a concussion standpoint. We'll see if he can make it to the protocol this week because he did practice a couple of days last week and then kind of, went backwards in that regard. And then I think Grover Stewart, biceps injury last week in that game against the Raiders. He was a full participant yesterday as well. And then as far as just other injuries, I think the big one, 2 big ones, Mike Hilton going to injured reserve, already thin cornerback room. It's thinner because of his shoulder injury. The hope is that he comes back this year, not a guarantee. And then lastly, Joe Bocci, the linebacker, undisclosed injury right now. I'll try to get to the bottom of that, but he's going to be out for at least 4 games. And so, I guess it's a good thing that the Colts signed Jermaine Pratt, guy who played a ton of games for Lou Anarumo and could be playing Sunday, honestly, depending on how thin that linebacker room is and how bad they've been next to Zaire Franklin.
And, Kevin, you talked about this a little while ago, Jermaine Pratt. Very interesting path this particular season to go from playing with the Raiders to now the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah, so massive Lou Anarumo connection is probably where we should start. He was Anarumo's first defensive draft pick, and Cincy started, I think, nearly 90 games in Cincy for Anarumo. But yes, was with the Raiders starting the first 4 games of the season, and then weirdly, after playing every snap in Week 4, didn't make the trip to Indy for last Sunday's game. Pete Carroll was very vague on it. The Colts are very vague on it yesterday in describing it. And now he's with the Colts. So a little odd to say the least here, but 29-year-old, well-regarded clearly by Lou Anarumo. And again, the bar is very low for an upgrade at that linebacker spot next to Zaire Franklin. It has been extremely underwhelming, the level of play they've gotten. Having said that, the Lou Anarumo acquisitions this season have not lived up to much. So we'll see exactly what Jermaine Pratt can offer the Colts here, and I would expect him to play, if not start, on Sunday.
All right, let's check out Major League Baseball. Playoffs continue in the divisional rounds. Cubs stay alive with a 4-3 win over the Brewers yesterday. They're down 2-1 in that best-of-5 series. Phillies taking on the Dodgers and stayed alive last night. 2 home runs, not 1 but 2 from our guy Kyle Schwarber, who, as Kevin also pointed out early in the show, that he hit one that might still be going today.
He's had a remarkable season, and like I said,
Just landed in Guam.
Yeah, and I'm sure Mark will probably chime in here. I just didn't expect him to be at this level when he left, the Cubs. But I mean, the guy continues to be one of the best hitters in the game, and I think. Is it you, Kevin, who always says he's first ballot of entertainment, Hall of Fame
entertainment, and it might be the actual.
That's what I'm saying. The longevity is crazy.
I think when it's all said and done, he will be in Cooperstown.
Yeah, I mean
He's got the playoff resume.
Like
He's
that.
hitting bombs every season. He's been outstanding. He's going to make a lot of money.
IU legend there.
Yes, he is. So that means also Tigers beat the Mariners to tie that series at 2. Yankees have been eliminated by the Toronto Blue Jays, and you were quite tickled and pleased with the postgame last night from Vlad Guerrero
I laughed
Jr.
very hard when David Ortiz, A-Rod, Derek Jeter, they're interviewing Vlad Guerrero Jr. from the Blue Jays clubhouse. Picture goggles, picture champagne, picture beer, and picture Vlad Guerrero Jr. doing this.
Dale. The Yankee lose. The Yankee lose. Let's go, baby. Let's go.
He did that about 5 times. David Ortiz was obviously thrilled. A-Rod and Derek Jeter did everything they could to hold in their laughter. So I know baseball and personalities and stars, we've had this debate before. Vlad Guerrero Jr. has always struck me as a pretty joyful dude, and he was feeling himself in that Yankees, I should say, the visiting locker room last night.
A lot of fun, and like I said, the Yankees lose. That never gets old. Later on today, 2 games. Both of them will be on TBS. The Phillies and Dodgers will actually play at 6:08, and then the Brewers and Cubs will play at 9:08, something that Mark is not at all happy with today.
No. Considering the night I had, I want a nap, and I don't think I'm getting it.
Well, good news for us, though, because Inside IU football happens from 7 to 8 tonight here on the station, and then at 8:30, we'll start our coverage of the Brewers and the Cubs. So you can always just turn the radio on and drift off to sleep as the Cubs stay alive.
I'll be staying up
I was
to
going
watch
to say,
the
that
game.
sounds like the worst plan ever.
Just trying to help out here.
Drift off to sleep when his season is on the line? What are we doing here? That's the worst plan ever.
Yeah,
There might be a reason he's drifting off to sleep.
Man, nah, he ain't drifting off to sleep during that game.
And we're heading to the bullpen in the 7th.
Yeah, nah, no chance.
Much like the Cubs, they'll just drift off to sleep.
I was gonna say,
That's how that works.
Is this the Jeff Rickard plan of action here? No, man, we got to stay up for this. Get the coffee brewing if you got to.
You don't need coffee for our next guest. Jason Hammer's going to come in full of energy and ready to go.
No coffee
He'll
for
tell
him.
us what he thinks about the Cubs' chances tonight, and also a look ahead to both the Colts and IU football, and I'm sure a couple of other things on that little scratch pad that he always brings in as we continue next. 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Good morning, everyone. Getting ready to go for another weekend of competition that needs to be evaluated, competition that needs to be looked at thoroughly, competition that hopefully can make you some money. That's why we have our next guest in every Thursday, Jason Hammer. How you doing this morning?
I'm a little tired. I stayed up late watching the end of Liberty and UTEP because while you guys were watching playoff baseball, I was riding the under on Liberty and UTEP, and we cashed that, baby.
So is that going to be some good juice going into tonight and the weekend?
And we need it because last week we came in and we played the clip of AI Kevin Bowen and we were feeling good. And then Mac Jones goes out there and becomes Joe Montana for the 49ers and screws up all the mojo.
I thought about you, buddy.
I mean, we still almost got that. That's with him playing out of his mind, but we missed that last week. So I thought, all right, we're going to have to do something different this week because I'm superstitious like that. I did lose that bet last week. We still have a winning record on Thursdays. But here to talk about what happened last week, just to change the mojo, we've got AI James Boyd ready to go.
Look, the only thing more disappointing and underwhelming than the Kansas City Chiefs has been the picks of this fat hillbilly from Beech Grove. I could pick 5 random fat children from Plainfield, and they could probably do a better job. And since we are talking about waste of time, let's talk about Kevin Bowen. What he lacks in charisma, he really lacks in hygiene and wardrobe. Kevin looks like the kind of guy who asks you for a cigarette each morning, standing outside of the gas station. Meanwhile, Mark looks like the guy stealing gas at that same station. And don't get me started on Jeff Rickard. Jeff looks like the kind of guy who wears too much cologne and is asked to leave the hotel bar because he's making other guests uncomfortable. The real reality is I'm the only one who didn't have the lunch money taken from them at high school and the only one who understands ball. AI James out.
There we go. AI James Boyd. Just lighting a fire in the studio, baby.
Excellent.
The voice is crazy.
Man.
Oh, man.
Gosh, Hammer.
And welcome to the show, Jason Hammer.
Oh, man. Let's get back at it today. I've got the Cubs shirt on, and I was telling Mark Dykton here
You
during
look
the commercial
great, by the
break.
way. That shirt is awesome. I hope our YouTube stream can catch that.
Oh, this is a Power Dad shirt.
Yeah.
This says you're pushing 50,
Right.
you're a little chubby, and the Cubs are in the playoffs.
Hey,
That's what this
I
shirt
need
says.
one of those.
Am I a horrible person, though, that I'm betting Milwaukee money line tonight?
Oh, boy. Is that
As a
emotional?
Cubs fan.
Is that
As a
emotional
Cubs
hedge,
fan.
or what
As
are you
a
doing
Cub
there?
fan, one, I feel like the Cubs did burn a lot of that bullpen up last night, and J-Mo has been pretty much the only consistent starter. So I'm a little concerned about what they're going to have on the mound tonight. But two, it's a little bit of hedging my bet as a fan, right? I want the Cubs to win. So I'm willing to invest $20 on the other side. Worst case scenario, I win some money tonight. Best case scenario, it's the equivalent of buying a beer at Wrigley, spending $20, and my team moves on to Game 5. Does that make sense to anybody?
You're good to go.
Okay.
Now, so would you suggest this for non-Cubs fans as well? I mean, that sounds very emotional.
It's very emotional. I'm a bit of a lunatic, but I do feel like Milwaukee's probably the play here. Cubs got out to a great start yesterday, didn't score after that, got a solid effort from the bullpen last night, with the exception of Kittredge. I'd be fine not seeing him the rest of the series, but I just don't know if you can get that back-to-back nights.
Okay, and then how about Thursday Night Football tonight? Hammer, we've had a few of these this year. Intra-division, big underdog, and correct me if I'm wrong, and maybe I'm just thinking last week to when you said Mac Jones turned into Joe Montana, it seems like the underdog's been the play. Giants getting a touchdown at home against the Eagles.
So all wisdom says the home team on Thursday gets the advantage. Underdog gets the advantage. We're going with the Eagles tonight, gentlemen.
No. Okay.
Eagles -7.5. A quick turnaround for a rookie quarterback. I think that favors the Eagles tonight. I like Jackson Dart. I think he might be the dude there for a while, but just a couple days to prepare for an Eagles team coming off a loss. Like, not that there's ever a really good time to play the Eagles, but they're a little salty because I think they got away with what made them successful last week. Ground and pound is what makes the Eagles play well. They threw the ball a crap ton last week and they got beat. So short turnaround, I think this favors the veteran squad here. I want the Eagles after a loss. And this is the weakest team the Eagles have seen on the schedule. The Cowboys, the Chiefs, the Rams, Tampa Bay, and the Broncos. All pretty decent squads. So give me the Eagles in a bounce-back spot. You don't get that very often. And I think the Eagles get back to running the football tonight. And this takes us to some of our prop bets. Jalen Hurts, under 27.5 passing attempts. The Giants are 27th in the NFL against the run, and that's as high as they've been in the last couple of years. So I think you're going to get back to giving Saquon the rock. They're going to try to beat the Giants on the ground in a short week. Under 27.5 attempts for Jalen Hurts. He had 38 last week, and they got beat. When they win, he's had 23, 22, 24, and 32. So we're going to go with the under, and Jackson Dart on the other side, because they always like to have a little action no matter who's on the field. Over 35.5 yards rushing. His 2 games as a starter, he's had 10 attempts for 54 against the Chargers, 7 attempts for 55 against the Saints. I feel like they're going to be behind, going forward on 4th down, broken plays. Give me over 35.5 rushing yards for Jackson Dart tonight.
You are good to go all over this game tonight on Thursday night.
Let's do it, man. We got to get back at it. Let's go.
Jason Hammer joining us here in studios. He does every Thursday morning. Let's look ahead to Saturday. Big game for the Hoosiers. They're in Autzen Stadium. They are 8.5-point underdogs right now. The over-under is 55.5. What are we thinking about this contest?
Man, that was at 10 earlier in the week, so that means a lot of IU money's coming in. Now, the bad news with that is that every single week of the college football season, the top 5 most bet games at Vegas sports books, 4 out of the 5 go to the house. So the public has been losing their backside, and it looks like the public's on the Hoosiers here. So I'm going to look at the over in this one. I know chance of rain, there's always a chance of rain in Oregon, but like a 40% chance of rain throughout the game. But here's 2 coaches that, if given the opportunity, will hang the biggest possible number up on the other one. Not because they're jerks, I guess, but this is how college football is. 2 teams in the top 10 in the Big Ten trying to get separation. The number's 55.5. It's a big number. Both teams are pretty good defensively, but I think IU's got the better quarterback. Oregon might have the better team. Oregon's really tough at home, but the Hoosiers are going to score. So let's ride the lightning. Let's go over 55.5.
So you're not afraid of that top 5 Oregon defense at all?
No. Listen, Signetti is the same way. If he gets the chance to put his throat on Oregon, he will do it. Saw what happened with Illinois. You saw what Oregon did when Gundy got a little mouthy down at Oklahoma State.
Oh, yes.
They're not afraid to put that big number on the board. So I would rather go to bed that night if I have to lose knowing, all right, I went to bed knowing 2 great offensive teams beat me, as opposed to going, hey, idiot, both of these coaches run the score up all the time. Why did you take the under?
Degenerates Next Door, the podcast. That is the voice of Jason Hammer, of course. Hammer and Nigel.
Great name.
Weekdays here on WIBC every single afternoon. We got this from the text line, Hammer, from Wes. He wanted to know your thoughts, I think just in general, maybe philosophically. I don't know if you have a Gambling 101 book here, but your thoughts on in-game bets. Are you an in-game bettor? Are you a live bettor once games get underway?
It's
what determines a good live bet then?
If you know the teams and an upset is brewing early, I think that's where you jump in, and maybe that's where you get better value on the favorite. Like for degenerates like me, this is playing the stock market, right? Like you see people down on Wall Street sell, buy in real time. So if Alabama's playing Ball State, like early in the season, let's say Ball State gets up 14-0. Now's the time to jump in and hammer Alabama, because you're not going to get better value than that. Or if it's a close matchup and things are going the other way, take a look at it. You can get a lot of really good value live betting, and a lot of these sportsbook apps, depending on which one you use, they have like promos and profit boosts for live in-game betting. So just wait for that bad boy to kick off and then make your bet.
What do you think about Sunday?
I like the Colts. I do like the Colts. Shout out to Beach Grove's Josh Fryer coming in with the Arizona Football Cardinals this weekend.
Ohio State product, right?
Yep, undrafted, but went in there, beat some people up in training camp, made the roster. It's been inactive last couple of weeks, but always good to see a Beach Grove kid in the league. I like the Colts.
This line is rising. Is that Kyler Murray injury situation rising, you think?
And I think it's Colts beating up on bad teams. I heard you guys talking about that a little bit earlier. I like what these Colts are doing against teams they're supposed to take care of business against. especially at home. You got Arizona flying cross country. And here's this Colts team feeling pretty good. They got to rest Daniel Jones in the fourth quarter last week. Got a lot of backups in the game. I don't know if that goes into feeling better for Sunday, but this is about as good as you're going to get for the Colts. A touchdown against Arizona, who just has to feel deflated with the way they got beat last week. Between
3 weeks in a row.
Between the ridiculous interception that they botched that went in the end zone and everything and in between, the drop ball at the 1 yard line. I'll take the Colts here. I'll lay the 7. We're getting into that danger zone, though, where the Colts are going to be some heavy favorites against maybe some of these teams. Pump the brakes a little bit if they go on the road, but home game against a struggling Arizona, I'm going to be in. Now, just so your audience doesn't accuse me of being a chalk-eating weasel and taking all favorites here.
So specific.
Purdue football, let's have a conversation. You brought a new head coach in. Seemed like he knew what he was doing out at UNLV. I know he inherited a lot of crap. But you're taking on a row the boat guy this weekend up in Minnesota. And the underdog has covered in that game the last 6 times. So I'm going to hitch my wagon. I'm going to bang that big freaking drum that Purdue rolls out there. We're going to take Purdue with 9.5 points. It's now or never, baby. Come on, Boilers. I had a preseason bet that they would win at least one Big Ten game, over 0.5. I don't need him to win. I just need him to hang around and stick it to row the boat guy who always finds a way to screw me.
Do you like the tie he wears?
No, I don't like anything about it. Nothing, Kevin. Absolutely zero.
One more time for tonight, the great Jason Hammer, Eagles -7.5. Jalen Hurts, that is the under on passing attempts for him. Jackson Dart, some scrambles sound like will be in the cards for him. Over 35.5 rushing yards.
That's it.
That's what you got. Brian Hammer wants to know if you guys are related, maybe.
What's that?
Brian Hammer texting in said maybe you guys are related.
I don't believe so, unless it's a kid I fathered years ago at Ball State. I don't think so.
How about AI James Boyd? That was so good.
Yeah, we got a couple requests in here, and someone is saying they want AI Mark Dykton, but I was telling them I don't know. AI Mark Dykton might get us kicked off the air because the real Mark Dykton is pretty.
It's pretty spicy.
Will we get AI Mark Dykton and AI Jeff Rickard before the year's over, Hammer?
I think we might. We might even get a crosstalk here, so we'll have to see how the season plays out. If we win tonight, we're going to ride the Lightning back with Boyd again next week.
Okay, that's smart.
That's how it works.
Well, I appreciate
you
that.
have way too much time on your hand, and I dig that. I dig that. All right, thanks for coming by. You're going to be on vacation next week, right?
Yeah, I'm working today. Got the afternoon show. The podcast drops at 1, Degenerates Next Door, and then I'm off, but I'll be back here Thursday next week.
Real quick, let us know where you're going. I know you told us off the air, but let the listeners know what's on the agenda. It sounds pretty cool.
So I've never been to this part of the country before, the Jackson Hole, Grand Teton area. My youngest,
beautiful.
My youngest is really into national parks. He's going to be going to college to be like a park ranger and all that kind of stuff. So we're cashing in a Christmas gift. We told him you can go to any national park you want. We'll pay for it. You can bring a buddy, and we're going to go. So we're rolling out tomorrow, wheels up from an American Airlines flight to Jackson Hole and the Grand Teton National Park.
Look at that. I believe one of the Ursay daughters got married out there. So, yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I would assume it's absolutely gorgeous out there.
There better be good steaks, right? I feel like there should be good steaks in that part of the country.
I can
I think
promise
I've
you
said
that. Yeah. All right, thanks, buddy. Have a good one.
Man.
Talk to you soon. Bringing in AI James Boyd and everything. How'd you feel about that? Hearing yourself.
It was weird, but it was hilarious. So it can always depend on Hammer to have a good time.
We may hear that again before the end of the show. What do you think?
Hey, I'm all for it.
All right. Coming up next, we'll talk about what we are into tonight and what we look forward to seeing. Join us as well on the fan text line at 239-1070. That's next on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. If you're just joining us, hope you got to sleep in, and thanks for being here either way. But if you've missed anything, what we've learned today is that Mark Dykton had to flee his home with family late last night because the plumbing completely went off the rails. You got water spouting off in the laundry room, and then it just got worse and worse. So you had to go to a hotel where you wanted to take a shower early this morning, and the plumbing didn't work at the hotel. Am I getting that right?
Yeah, the water wouldn't drain out of the tub, and it had like a yellow tinge to it, and then there's no shampoo or anything. So that was fun. It was a good time. Nothing like moving from your house for plumbing issues and then going to the hotel and having plumbing issues as well. So the show gets off the air. I'm going to put on my best Karen wig I can, and I'm going to go complain at the hotel.
Good luck with that.
I am. And I'm taking an extra granola bar for my troubles.
On the way out, you just take it with a little bit of attitude right there.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Biscuits and gravy to go.
Yeah. More crispy bacon for my friend Kevin, too.
Got a lot of text line recommendations on places to go for biscuits and gravy. Sounds like a coffee shop in Zionsville might be the way to go.
Sign me up.
Looking for that.
Sign me up on that. Boys, we're about to enter heaven. Today starts a stretch, 49 straight days of a college football and or NFL
That's
game.
crazy.
I feel like it's so fitting based off the weather that
Yes.
it's just changed all of a sudden here. I assume that means some MACtion will be starting up as the MAC conference will have some of their weekday games. So we go doubleheader Monday night this week, don't we, Mark?
Yeah.
We're back in one of those.
It's Bills, Falcons, and Bears, Commanders. And I'll give you one guess as to what play is going to get replayed all week long for Bears, Commanders.
Oh, the Hail Mary, right?
Uh-huh.
Is he still playing?
Yes, he's actually having a pretty good season.
Really?
Yep.
Tyreek Stevenson was that his name?
And he mentioned like he had actually a really good response. It was like a 3-minute answer on a podcast, and they said, "Have you gotten over it?" He's like, "No, I'll never get over it, and everyone should show me that highlight because I did what I should never have done, and I took the game for granted, and the game gave me instant karma, and
wow,
I have to prove my career
learned
that is not me. That was a blip on the radar, and so when people look back on my career, they say he had that play, and then look what he did. So I'm like, that's actually an awesome answer because you're learning your lesson there, and he's had a hell of a start to his 2025 season, so hopefully he can rebound and get a dub on Monday night.
I will say this, to pivot a little bit, Kevin, I was expecting you to come in with different garb this morning. You know, you were given something yesterday at Colts practice by someone who's pretty prominent out here in these sports settings. So can you explain what you got there from Coach Shane Steichen?
Yeah, so Monday, we have a Zoom with Shane Steichen every Monday. And for the most part, James, I feel like he's almost always wearing Colts apparel.
Yeah.
Typical head coach swag. And, I would say Shane, usually rocks, casual Colts apparel. And he sits down at the table and he's wearing, a very crispy looking Masters shirt. So, when it was my time to chat, I just said to Shane, that's a good looking shirt you have on there. I forget if I said anything else. I think I just said that.
No, you said if you've got an extra one,
Did
bring
I say
it.
that?
Yeah.
Man, I totally forgot.
He was
about
out there
it.
begging, let's be honest, but continue.
I totally forgot. And then yesterday he walks into the media room and he had a Masters sweatshirt that he gave me. Very appreciative of that. So that means now I only say good things about Shane Steichen. I posted how he should win Coach of the Year story. I posted that about 5 minutes after he handed me that sweatshirt and build the statue right next to Peyton, or maybe move Peyton to the back of Lucas Oil Stadium and put Shane out front. So in all seriousness, very nice of him. A very nice Master sweatshirt. And I honestly, on a morning like this, I probably could have rocked it today.
All I'm saying is he didn't have to do anything for like size because you all pretty much look the same. And you told me that there's been at least one time where someone thought you were the old coach of the Colts.
Yeah, I was leaving Grand Park one day and they had one of those Colts tailgate groups out in the parking lot. And I'm walking to my car, book bag, hat, I probably typically wear a golf shirt, but, it wasn't a Colts shirt. And all of a sudden these guys are like, "Hey, Coach Steichen, Shane." I'm like, what? I turn around. I'm thinking, why is Shane near us? We work out, or we used to work out of what's it called? Indy 11's headquarters up there, nowhere near where the Colts work out of. And I turn around. I'm like, yeah, he's not there at all. And they're literally trying to flag me out. I'm like, guys, I'm not Shane Steichen. Sorry about it. And then they quickly realized.
It's Kevin Bowen.
Just
And the
another
guy-
lanky white guy just walking around.
Yeah,
Don't worry about me.
with much less intellect than
I think
Shane
you should have
Steichen.
leaned into the bit. You're like, you know what? I'm going to call this play for Tyler Warren on Sunday. You boys be ready.
By the way, Brian Hammer, who was wondering if there was somebody who's related to Jason Hammer, says could be. He's 55 and says he's got 18 siblings.
Wow.
18 siblings.
Man, that
That's I respect to those parents. How'd they do that?
Well, I told you if and when I have children, if I have over 2, I'm picking favorites. If I got 3, we're not doing the whole I love you all the same. Not today. You're getting on my nerves. So I'll have the ranking system like Deion Sanders has with his sons.
Well, when I'm trying to get the kids down for bed on Christmas Eve, and they're like, "Is Santa here yet?" I'm like, "No, they're at Brian Hammer's house because he's got 18 people he's got to manage. Santa's busy over there for probably 90 minutes."
That's respect. Yelling at Cloud says, I get why the Cubs-Brewers game is late and the Phillies-Dodgers is early. The Eagles play tomorrow night. They didn't want to split the viewership, so maybe there's something going on there.
I mean, you are probably
Mark
right.
doesn't want to hear it.
You're probably right, Jeff. The Carmel and LA markets, or the Carmel,
Chicago.
the Chicago and LA markets.
Yeah, they want to put both of them to some extent in the primetime window. It's usually how that works. By the way, the networks are the only ones that decide when and where games are played these days. You want to get mad at anybody, get mad at the networks. So that's what we've got going on today. Any last words, James, before we head out for Thursday?
No, all my words were used against me because of my AI version of myself. So I'll leave. He said everything that needed to be said on today's show.
Mark, good luck in more than one ways.
Yeah, we're looking forward to hearing an update tomorrow morning, and hopefully it all goes well. All right, it'll be Jake at noon, Greg in for JMV at 3. See you tomorrow morning at 7.